You want me to start from the beginning?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, hey Jenna, if you're still there.
Yeah, hi Jenna. Welcome to
We
our
did say
nightmare.
hey to you. Yes. Basically, what I was talking about while our mics were muted was that uh, Rings of Power with season 2. I've really been seeing a lot of people discuss it online, outside of the usual people that I talk with on the X platform. In any case, I've been seeing a lot of people saying like, "Yeah, I'm not watching this." And one person kind of took me by surprise, which is Grace Randolph. She said that she's not going to be reviewing Rings of Power season 2 because she just doesn't want to watch it. And then on top of that, she didn't even finish season 1, which is quite spectacular to get her to stop watching something.
Yeah. So far,
And she's saying that she's seeing
wait, we're still good.
that there's zero interest in this show. And she also
Oh,
said
yeah,
it's a
agreed.
huge investment of time to cover, very little return on an online interest.
Well, that's
Covering a show is a tremendous amount of work. You got to watch it. Takes about 6 hours from notes to scripting to film editing.
bro. She's not doing that. Come on now.
Dude, no way.
Ain't no way she's doing that.
I couldn't even get that. I've seen her reviews and I've been like, bro, come on.
Yeah, ain't no way she's doing that.
Maybe. Not her. Surely she had, maybe her entire team. Maybe.
So she has like her like weird her whole like have you've seen her the way her like setup looks, right? It's just like so chaotic. Yes. Everything she's got on screen, and it's, oh man.
Yeah.
We're not over here with like a massive budget or anything, but
hey, you do you.
There's a certain amount of organization that I think you need to your setup. And,
yeah, I need to check her out again. Her
Bruh.
channel and her reviews.
We should when we have some
I've
time.
only did that like one time before, and it was like, I'm just really not into this thing she's reviewing, so I'm done.
That's a big one for me. There's like
it was less to do with her. I think I also remember with whatever she was reviewing, I was like, yeah, I disagree, but I don't really care that much, so I'm just gonna go to something else.
There's like some phrases and stuff that will immediately make me go, nah, not this. There was one, oh man, I wish I could remember. I was watching something the other day and thought it would be kind of interesting to listen to. But I can't remember what the guy said, but it was this phrase, and I knew that's where his like entire argument was going, and I was like, nope. No, thank you. There's like some stuff that, how like with let's take Star Wars, right? If you're like, oh man, somebody's got like an argument that's sort of the opposite of what I think about, say, Star Wars, the argument for why Star Wars isn't as bad as everyone says that it is. And then like you start listening to it and someone goes, well, the white men, and then you go, no. No. I mean, it's an extreme example or whatever, but that's just kind of the thing. And it's kind of like, this what's her name? Amandla Steinberg, who was in
the frick is that?
The new one. She was the lead actress in Acolyte.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'm not
the twin?
Yeah. She came out recently and had this thing, and people just like people were going after like Star Wars Theory, who I disagree with on actual like thoughts that he has, like the things that he actually says about Star Wars. Like I have disagreements with him for sure. But people will take like what he says and they'll read into it and say, well, he said this word, which is essentially a dog whistle for white supremacy or whatever. And you're like, what? We're like, but he didn't say that, right? They're like, they won't. And the problem is, and again, this is like what we talk about with online discourse all the time. They won't admit he didn't say that thing. They just want to put that out there. And then a lot of time, what it is now is they just want that reaction on Twitter to like make a couple bucks or, to try to have that infamy or whatever. It sucks.
Yeah, it's evil to do stuff like that. The just put words in people's
yeah,
mouth.
it's disgusting.
Like, it's not even something that he said and just to automatically assume the worst. But guess what? That's social media for you. That's being on the internet in general for you. I mean, how many times have we faced things like that? But
yeah, the entire time Rings of Power was on 2 years ago, it was just there was like this group of people that and actually with certain Marvel things, anything and. It's like anytime there is something, so it's like a black actor or someone who
a female actor, just someone
they're
who's
gay
not
or
male,
whatever the case may be. Yeah, we can criticize. We can say the exact same things that we say about I don't know, like say like we didn't like a Henry Cavill performance or whatever, and we treat it the exact same way that we would Amanzo Stenberg or like anybody. I think the thing that one person got onto us or was like quote unquote criticizing us about was what was the name of that movie? The one with all the characters and the guy flies into the sun at the end, and the what was it? Eternals. Yeah. Because there's like some, they did that whole thing where like one of the actors who I think was gay in it was like, oh, this is gonna like save lives or whatever, and we were like criticizing the production and the way that they were like focusing on their race and gender and sexual orientation rather than like the story, the characters, the setting, like the normal, like if you and I were to like create a movie or whatever, or like make a movie, the things that you would naturally want to talk about, that those would be in like the forefront and not necessarily like it's saving lives or like it's just it's everything's gone into like this really weird realm with all of that, and then you point that out and they say, well, you hate the gays, and you're just like, what?
And here's the thing, dude, that's just online. Like nobody talks like that in real life.
No,
when you watch the Rings of Power and you hear the dialogue in there, and it's like no one talks like that. That's the thing. Same thing with online discourse is that no one goes and says, "Hey, this is my BIPOC friend."
Oh, dude, it would.
You know what I mean?
Well, okay. To be fair, there's a small minority of people that talk like that in real life because I've run into them. You know where I live. I've run into them. Yeah. Those people do exist. This guy the other day, like he came through and we have these like cardboard containers that we like put drinks in or whatever and hand to people, and he gave it back and he's like, oh, I just want to like lower my footprint, and he was driving this like massive Toyota Tundra, and I'm like, from my perspective, it's like, wait, these things don't add up for what you just told me. It's so weird, dude.
Yeah, it is weird.
A lot of interesting stickers and stuff on the back of people's cars as well. It's exhausting some days.
No, but what's funny with this with the Rings of Power is that you remember watching the Olympics and that Australian breakdancing lady?
Of course.
Yes. So, and how everybody was like, I've never seen an athlete in the Olympics that I was like, you know what? I could do that and probably better. That's exactly what watching this show has done for me. It's like, surely I can do better than that. I could do better than that. I know I could. That's not, that's humility. That's a low bar. That's not me being prideful. I literally could do a better job than the showrunners and the executive producers and the writers on this show. And then there's another thing too. The all-female directing did not help this show because I have yet to see one masculine character. They couldn't nail Sauron. They can't nail Isildur, Elendil. They couldn't even Galadriel, so on and so forth. Everything's just flipped on how it should be. Yet alone, not even talking about Tolkien's lore and how much that's just bastardized.
For sure.
And how they don't even make an attempt to stick to. Then this is the thing that throws me off with that. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
This is the thing that throws me off with adaptations is when someone wants to adapt something, but instead of it being like, I'm going to do my best to be as faithful to the source material when and where I can, right? Like Peter Jackson didn't stick to everything. There were some things he changed, or if you agree with him or not, but it was more so because he had to go from book to movie versus like, I'm just going to get rid of this person or this narrative to insert my own idea because I can do it better, right? And so I think there's a lot of hubris, as we said last season, that continued into this season with them thinking that they can just do better than Tolkien can, a guy who spent his entire life on it.
Yeah, there's clearly some echo chambers going on with this show among the people making it.
Here's a great idea, David. When you start off season 2, maybe start it not instead of with 2 characters no one's seen before, 2 actors, maybe start it with characters that we've seen before. Again, not that that's a huge deal, but I don't know.
Well, it's got, and obviously we're gonna talk about the episodes, but the pacing is weird. I mean, these are all, listen, it's all the same complaints that we had about season 1.
Yes.
And now we're
all over again.
And it's even more confusing this season. Like, I almost feel the need to be careful in the way that I say this, because what I want to say is, like, the motivations of characters. But then, dude, it's stuff like some of them. I found some of them. Okay, so the biggest thing that I noticed, just like off the bat, and this is just kind of broad strokes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is that it's sort of like the spatial / time sort of stuff going on, like where people are headed, and it's kind of, they had that problem in season 1. We talked about it some with, I think, the time that it took like Elrond to get to like Khazad-dûm, and it was like in the backyard of something else. Like, oh, I just hop, skip, and a jump right over to. I think he was going over to oh shoot, I can't remember. I didn't rewatch season 1 before we.
Oh, you talking about this with Elrond going from Lindon to Aragon?
I think so. But he went but he traveled to like Khazad-dûm too, and it was just like everything was so short in the time that he was going, and the passage of time is really weird, and it's still weird in the way, in certain ways that they handle it, and then introduction of new characters.
Oh yeah, we'll get there too.
Yeah, bringing back old characters that are like, we don't, dude. I mean, and we'll get to it, but like, there's because of the loss of like certain actors, and because of the loss of because of the loss of certain actors, there's things that have now happened that you're like, okay, what's going on? And it's like, why are they doing this? And like, why have they just completely skipped an explanation of this? Because this is how it was when you ended season 1, and now we're here, and you couldn't even find a way to like sync those up, you know? And it just reminds me of when we were talking about that battle at the tower in the first season. And like, man, it would have been really nice to actually see that happen on screen. And there were a lot of people that are like, you idiots, did you not realize it happened? It's like, no, we did. I think you just missed what we were saying. Like, we would like to see the events unfold, not just be told that something happened and the outcome of those events.
And exactly what happens in, what was it, episode 3, this last
3
one?
For that, yeah.
With Isildur.
And then there's a bunch of stuff with the Isildur stuff in episode 3 where I was like, huh? Like, I don't want to jump ahead too much because it's so good, just in the sense of like how stupid it is. And that no one was like, guys, you know that doesn't make sense, right? And dude, I went back through it because we'll jump into it in a minute. But the opening segment with Sauron is like 25 minutes long, and it is pointless. It is absolutely useless. So not only do you get that, and then you get like another 2 minutes. Yeah, we already get to like, you get 2 minutes of the title. So you're practically halfway through the first episode, and you're like, what have you, like, why is this what you decided to do to start us off? Like, it really wasn't interesting. And we'll get into it because, God, dude, there's just like so many questions about why they did certain things and how that's supposed. Oh, and this is what I was talking about, like how certain things and the way that they're kind of writing their history, right?
Yeah.
or their history of these
Exactly.
events. And you're like, hang on. And then it's like they do stuff that changes the importance of Sauron as an enemy. It kind of cuts his legs out from underneath him, or at least that's the way that, for instance, like the elves are treating it so far in the show. And you're like, wait. Like, the way that you set him up in the first season was very much like, this dude is going to wreck you if he gets into power. And that people were aware of it. Like, that was the whole point of Galadriel trying to hunt him down in the first season, I thought. And then in this season, it completely changes that. It's almost like we're like, no, never mind. We're doing this now. And it's like, are you guys not even referencing your own show? Like,
No,
it's so weird. Which leads me to, at least to some degree, think that the stuff that they did that everyone was like praising from the first episode, the first like 10 minutes of it, like not her brother talking to her about rock sinking and boats floating, but like all of the imagery with like the battle and the eagles and the tree and the tree dying and like all of that stuff. People were like, oh yeah, this part was so cool, we loved all of that. And then like this season, it's like, well, that obviously wasn't that important, because it doesn't seem like they care that it matters, or that we're dealing with the same enemy now. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. All right, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. I was gonna a few things I was gonna say as far as general thoughts was that they're trying to tell this, it's supposed to be this grand and an epic narrative they're telling, but everything feels so small in the confines. I think one of the issues is they're trying to tell too many. They're trying to Game of Thrones the story, and so they're trying to tell so many stories at one time, all these different characters, but we're not getting to know each character along the way. So, for example, to use Lord of the Rings, you have Frodo, and the show starts with him. That's the main narrative, and then all the other narratives branch off from there.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is lacking. And it's also, every single time we have characters talking, it's some kind of important event. This huge thing is happening, and instead of just not getting characters just interacting with each other in a natural, organic way, a lot of people talk to each other in ways that don't happen in the books, number one, and that don't happen in real life. And so it's just a lot of weird sayings, clumsy sayings that we got from season one continuing. It's not just people talking like you and I are talking right now, or like you and I do when we hang out or whatnot. People aren't just talking normally over a meal and getting to know each other. And so like we have all these characters whining and crying in every single scene, it seems like, and so you're going from one crying scene to the next one, but we're just not getting characters just chilling and hanging out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry.
In an interesting way to where
and
you're learning about the culture, learning about this character, you're building up caring about them. And I think that's where a lot of season one is failing in season two, is because they didn't do that in season one. Mm-hmm. None of this really hits you in season two.
Right. And of course, because they didn't develop characters, because we don't care about any of the characters, and it hasn't happened that much yet, but whenever they're in danger, or whenever, like Anatar is deceiving them or whatever, and you want to be like, no, don't fall for it or whatever, you just don't care.
Yep.
And you're just like, how are you guys so stupid? How are you guys so stupid?
Yes.
How are you guys so stupid that, like, you're clearly aware that Sauron is trying to manipulate all of you and he wants to take over, and then like random man appears and you're like, this is fine. Totally cool.
Or hey, Sauron wants to deceive everyone. Yeah, let's just put on these rings. Even though that's obviously this isn't how the rings were made in the book.
Stupid.
But it's like
well, he didn't touch
Sauron's a master. Gil-galad's like, Sauron deceived you, Galadriel, and he's a master manipulator. Yeah, let's put on these rings that were potentially made by.
They go, he didn't touch the rings, right? Well, I don't think so. All right. Come on.
That's all I need.
Come on. Oh, brother. Says a lot about the writers.
Died. So when I saw Tar Muriel, I know I'm cutting ahead.
No, it's fine.
But I need to say this. just real fast. This was just so funny to me. So I saw Tarmiriel, and I was like,
Dude, the
"Oh,
ending
that's
of that
right. I
episode.
forgot." Her grand plan last year when she got blinded to so that people didn't realize that she got blinded. Her grand plan was to put on a freaking
Put on the
blindfold.
blindfold. Yep. Yeah.
Idiot.
The eagle chose him. We'll get to it. Bro, I was laughing so hard. Golly.
Man.
Okay, so as you had previously mentioned, the show opens
The dawn of the second age.
yeah, and I what's funny is like I read that and then immediately this. So I would consider this a criticism. I think a pretty valid criticism, but it opens with that, right? And we know that we're in the second age, but I don't know if the show has never really done a good job of placing us there.
Yep. With the timeline as well, and
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
and then so you open up with new Adar. And then this person that the show is calling Sauron.
Yes.
And I'm going, oh,
It's supposed to be his original form.
sure, and I'm going, okay. And it's the funny part about his like original form looking really similar to Anatar, like just different enough, you know.
Yeah.
It's like okay, and
Yeah, and when you're gonna introduce your big bad villain Sauron, that's extremely strong, powerful, imposing, evil, and wicked. It's definitely the best way to do that is to have him given a speech to 20 orcs about why they should follow him.
yeah, not only that, but like he looks pretty effeminate.
Yes.
The clothing, the way it falls, the coloring, the hair, like the whole deal. Like there's nothing that, and honestly, in contrast, sorry, some of these names are gonna slip my mind a little bit. In contrast, Adar looks kind of the opposite, right? Like he kind of looks
more
like what,
threatening.
yeah, like what you would expect from that.
Because the orcs followed Morgoth and Sauron out of fear. Like what led the orcs into battle wasn't just their own evilness, and it wasn't, they didn't run away from Gondor and the good side, right? Just put in simple terms, because of, the fear that was before them, but the fear that was behind them, right?
Right.
That's they really feared Sauron. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's freaking Sauron. They did a great job of lowering his power level.
Significantly, dude. And the whole instance makes him look weak. And so this is why the timeline is weird to me. So this is the dawn of the second age.
Yep.
So how long has Galadriel been searching for Sauron?
Didn't she say like 1,000 years last
according to
season?
the show? Okay. Yeah, it was something. It was a really like a really really long time.
Yeah.
And so
if only she knew, all she had to do was to turn that emblem sideways, and it was Mordor.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is why this is frustrating, right? Because like I don't think now there will always be those people that will try to read into this too much. Like I would need like definitive here, and this is some of the stuff that I was always talking about in season 1, that people were just either trying to pull from other source material or they were just making it up. Right, and so I don't know when. So Sauron currently exists at the dawn of the second age. He's probably been around longer than that. But I don't have like when did he become the threat, right? According to the show, like when did he become the threat? Why was Galadriel specifically? Oh, I guess he killed her brother, right? Okay, so
Yeah,
first
he killed
of all,
her brother. He was the threat in the first age, but then when Morgoth was defeated, this is from the show's perspective,
right?
He vanished, right?
I forgot about the Morgoth stuff. So yeah, he vanished, quote unquote. So this is what's weird to me is like so Morgoth is gone. Is her brother dead? Is she currently searching for him? If because what basically happens here is that he fails to convince the orcs. Adar stabs him with his own spiky crown, which is ridiculous.
Hey, David, if only Gandalf knew that all he had to do to defeat Sauron was get a gaggle of orcs to stab him a bunch.
Bro, would have saved everyone a lot of time. Poor Boromir.
I know.
He died in vain. Yeah, man, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then okay, so wouldn't there be and let's say Adar had done this, right? And he's got all these orcs. So you're telling me from the time this happens till the time that he returns, no word ever got out that he was presumed dead. This entire time. I'm supposed to believe that from the literal dawn of the Second Age until whenever Rings of Power picks up and we see Sauron or Halbrand, if you will.
Well, based off of their time frame, that's only like 4 days.
Right? How long was he a puddle of goo?
Dude, did you see how much iconography and lines they repurposed from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings? Like there was that shot of when he becomes goo, and he goes down into the cave.
Find the goo.
Or as I like to call him, the spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
That, when he becomes the spaghetti monster, and they do that cave shot, it's very similar to the Gollum shots.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
And also that they also regurgitate and stole ideas from Harry Potter with Lord Voldemort, with him having to. So you got a blend of venom in there with the symbiote,
Yep.
along with Lord Voldemort, with him having to eat life to come back to life.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which all of that. I mean, once they started getting into that, I was like, this doesn't make sense.
And that's
This is
not when it comes to Sauron being able to shapeshift. When each time he does it, it takes a lot longer. Number two, it's not like that. That's a very different interpretation. That's as generous as I could say it, of Sauron's shape-shifting ability, and it's more that his spirit endures than he shapeshifts from spaghetti goo.
Yeah. The goo monster, bruh. Black. You know what's funny?
Just like
Black goo is like, and maybe it's just because I've been in like going back through. I watched Prometheus and Alien Covenant. In between now and our previous episode, and like black goo is like and it's in Romulus, but like black goo is like a big deal in that because it's like how life is like created and destroyed in that universe or whatever. It's all pretty stupid anyway, but it's so funny. It's just like black goo, like so. Okay, so you remember in season 1, like all the black goo was there. Was that just like Sauron? Did we ever get an answer for that?
I don't think we did.
Probably,
I don't remember.
We probably won't at this point.
Oh, that's too funny.
His corruption just spreading. That's all it really.
They also took Peter Jackson's idea of Sauron when he dies, the spirit explosion that he does. Except for I guess this time it does it, and it creates ice and snow and changes the weather and elements of wherever Sauron's spirit explodes. That's what happens, and I thought that was...
Yeah, he just like climbs out of the mountain.
And there's some things like that they change, and I'm like, I see where you're going with it, right? And if this was written better, I wouldn't have a problem with it, right? Some changes or their interpretation of something. What was one of those? Okay, so they continue, just to say something positive, right?
Sure.
So when Peter Jackson had Aragorn's connection with the horse in the movies. That, if I remember correctly, the troll room can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, that's not in the books. And Peter Jackson,
No, I don't think it is.
invented that. Now, when it comes to the Numenorians, they do have a connection with their horses, to where some say they can call them with their minds.
Yeah.
I believe that's talked about in the Nature of Middle Earth, which, by the way, I think I told you, or maybe I posted in our Discord, that I checked that book out. Bro, I read like only tens of pages of that, and I was like, yeah, this is way too dense. I'm taking this back. No offense to, I can't remember who the author was, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just watch a video on this. Somebody else can tell me, or I'll wait for Andy Serkis to read it or something like that.
There you go.
But it was just like a lot of math stuff and everything. I just didn't really care. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not that committed. But in any sense, I think it's talked about in there, to where, and maybe the Silmarillion as well, or the Unfinished Tales, how some say that they can call them with their minds. But anyways, they have this connection with the horses, and so I thought, them showing the connection of the horse with Elendil, and then with the Isildur,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great, I like that.
Yeah, I didn't mind that.
It's a bit. That's a different can be called a different interpretation, but that works, right? But then
It's very
there's just
so it's
everything else
yeah,
is just horrible.
it's very like fantasy, and it's just on that line enough where even someone like me who's like not aware of that stuff, I go, okay, yeah, there is something, we kind of know there's something special about them, and they're not quite human. And it's okay, like, if there is some sort of like special bond there, and they don't, and it's one of the only times I think the show has ever done something that's like kind of showing you more than they're just. I don't know if the show, because I don't remember, it could have happened in season 1, I just don't remember, but like no one was blatantly like, their horses have super special connections, right? Like the way the scene plays out, I think, is adequate enough where, he's trying to get the horse to go, and they're like, none of us have been able to do it, and you go, oh, this is Isildur's horse, and he is in some manner upset that Isildur's not there, and then like, is it Elendil that was trying to calm him down?
Yeah.
Is that right? And then he just automatically knows, and there is something that actually works. He takes the harness off and like lets the horse go. Now, beyond that, it all gets really, really stupid in that episode, and we'll get to all of that. But yeah, it is a moment where you go, oh, okay, like, there was something there for sure.
If only they were better and cared about the lore and cared about Tolkien.
Yeah, if you could only do that for, the other 58 minutes of your episode.
Who adapts something and says, you know what, I know what this fan base has been longing to see. They haven't really been longing to see what the author wrote. They've been longing to see what I'm going to write, based off of using the author's names, locations, and stuff. It's asinine, man. Anybody who thinks that way, which I meant to say this earlier, but I'm going to go back on our TikTok. And you remember when Halo first came out and we released clips on there? There was this one guy, every single clip he would release would just say all kinds of stuff about how we're wrong, Halo's great, and all kinds of stuff. And I meant to go back when it got canceled a month or two ago and say, well.
Yeah, I did that to everybody that kept telling us that Halbrand wasn't going to be Sauron and that he was going to be X, Y, and Z. And I said, yes. I literally went back to every single comment we had about that and was like, you were wrong. We were right.
Dude, and the real mystery box, because there's mystery boxes still in this season. The real mystery box for this season, though, is going to be if it gets canceled or not.
Oh, dude, it's got. Did you see the star rating for it for season 2?
No.
2.5 stars, 2.4, I think, when I last looked.
Dude, I saw it was number 2.
Yeah, and when you logged in on day 1, it said Rings of Power number 2, and it's like, bruh, y'all can't even like keep up your own lie anymore. It's like they know. It's like season 1, they were like doing all that cover for it, constantly trying to play cover for it, deleting reviews, like all that, every little bit of thing, especially the closer it got to it coming out, all the fake interviews, all of that garbage. And this season,
Right.
they basically, it really does feel like they threw it out to die. 3 episodes the first week, which basically puts it within a month of existing. And so it's going to be out of the talking point in a couple of weeks.
Well,
They're not covering
Can
reviews.
Can I make my pitch to Jeff Bezos right now?
I guess.
Like, Jeff, listen. I know the show sucks, and you know it too. And it's going to suck the rest of the season. But I think there's still a shot at redemption. And if you let me take the lead, I can redeem this show. This is my pitch. We start season 3. Galadriel is shaken and woken up by Celeborn. And he says, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, I had the craziest dream. The elves had all these stupid haircuts and acted dumb." And then we just go from there.
Yeah.
And get it back on track. Really simple stuff.
Well, it's
honestly, I think sometimes that's what they should do. Instead of trying to save face and just like continue the terrible story elements from shows, I think it makes a lot more sense of just, you know what, start the next season completely fresh and just slam how it was done previously, just to save your show.
Yeah.
Especially considering how much money they spent on it.
Man, I mean, really,
I really do think that you and I could bring back some redemption next year. And do I think they're going to cancel it? It probably won't get canceled. They're probably too prideful for that. Jeff Bezos and everyone, they're committed to 5 seasons, but there's always ways to get out contracts. And if anything, they're going to slash the budget tremendously.
Well,
even more so than they probably already have.
At this point, man, no one with any amount of self-respect would touch this with like a 30-foot pole. There's like trying to come back into like a season 3 after everything that's happened and be like, redemption time, guys. Like at that point, you might as well just create a new series, because you're fighting. It's not even an uphill battle. It's a vertical climb straight up with no footholds. Like
well, that's what I mean. You gotta just own it. And I would sincerely start it off probably with something stupid like Galadriel being woken up from a dream.
Yeah, but you got to understand, like you're not gonna have the numbers because nobody's gonna want to watch it. Nobody wants to watch this season. Even if you came out and you were like trying to tell people like, oh please, like we're doing something new, no one's gonna believe you.
Oh, you know what I would do? You want me to tell you what I would do? We're gonna do the season like this. All the people that hate this show that are on YouTube, that are out there, I'm talking about Nerdrotic, Mahler, all the people, we're going to give them access with no strings attached.
It's not enough.
And
it's not enough because you've lost your
there's always hope, David.
You've lost
if
your
you and I are
audience
involved and we're the head, we could bring that core audience back.
This is the same problem that's why Star Wars is in a much deeper hole than this. But like you got to understand, like where Star Wars is, you might have, like, say for whatever reason, just like by magic, Kathleen Kennedy or no, Star Wars decides we're turning around. We're about facing. We're going to go back to what the core of Star Wars is. Everything that we've done before, we're just tossing it out. It's not canon. It's original and prequel trilogy. Those are what they are. Like we're not touching that anymore, and we're going to try to. Jeez, something just fell off my desk. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I get what you're saying, though. You're going to try it's a big cruise ship to steer around.
No one's going to care until like that's the argument for where a lot of these properties are right now.
I don't think Lord of the Rings is quite there.
No,
yet.
Because between this and Sam, sorry, my dog's
or the her realm.
If that is as bad as a lot of people are speculating at this point, there's going to be some problems. And then the longer that Rings of Power goes on, and Lord of the Rings is different because those original books exist. People don't they don't really care. And this
It's completed.
franchise, yeah, this franchise, like, the only way that you're going to really get in the same position as Star Wars is if you take like Children of Hurin and like some of the other stuff, and people start making adaptations of that, and it's all terrible. At some point, people are gonna be like, I just don't care anymore. And to be honest,
Well,
by the time Rings of Power is done, and if by the time Rings of Power is done, and by the time the one
War of the Rohirrim.
yeah, by the like this year, there's gonna
And
be
the hunt for Gollum.
there's gonna be enough people who don't care, like they just don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible to ruin a franchise, and it is probably going to take a lot more effort to bring a franchise back. But I still think that it's possible. And Lord of the Rings isn't there. I think with the Rings of Power, a lot of people were there. But if you brought people in, they should have cleaned house after season 1. They were smart. That's what they would have done. And they really should have cleaned house. I really think a lot of the actors are better than what we're seeing. I don't think this is the
Sure.
actors' fault and stuff like that.
Hopefully
It's,
not.
You know, they have crappy scripts. And then also, yes, did Morpher Clark make a bad decision not reading the books? Yes, and stuff like that, right? But not saying they can't improve, but I don't think like a lot of the blame falls on them. I think it's just the writing and the direction and everything else. But I think
sure.
if you got people in who absolutely cared about Tolkien, and then you're like, you bring in Tom Shippey, you bring in some other people. I think there's a way to correct the script.
I'm not saying that you
the
can't
ship,
but
but it's gonna. Yeah, I think you have to do something tremendous, and it's gonna be hard.
it doesn't matter if you correct it, because no one wants to come back, and no one wants to try to come into a third season of a television show. Like I guess, because
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
you know what I mean. Like, you're on your third season by that point now,
You would have to just straight cancel the show.
and you don't.
And
And
do
honestly,
something
man,
new.
you don't even really want to do a scene where like this weird fourth wall break thing with Lord of the Rings, where Galadriel wakes up and it's like, oh, see, guys, it was all just a bad dream. Like, it's kind of cringe. Like,
It is.
you just dump it and you start over.
Yeah.
And you then that's how you correct ship. So everyone would have to come out. Everyone would have to apologize. They would publicly have to basically shame McKay and what's his face. What was the other guy?
Patrick McKay and
Why am I forgetting their names?
JD Payne.
Payne, yeah, McCain, yeah. Payne and McKay, whatever. It basically be like, we should have never put them in charge. Like, and everyone knows that because they have virtually zero credits to their name, and it's the show. It's obvious. The show is so amateur, and I get it. Like, they have good cameras, and then there's probably like some people who are working like maybe set wise, and some of the people on post production. They're talented, and they're doing what they can with what they've been given.
Right.
But yeah, it's like the show on so many levels is so amateur. It's mind-boggling. Like, I can't imagine sitting in the editing room and then being like, "Here you go, make it work," and you're like, "What is this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this?" You know?
Yeah.
It just, I wouldn't be surprised, man, if it might be 10 years down the line if there's some people who come out and start talking about this and just the absolute disaster it was to like work with them and on this project. You know, you've already had 2 people leave.
Yep.
You know,
and I've been told. I think this is a top-down thing, because if you're the head of Amazon and Jennifer Salk, for example, I think in this situation, this is the thing where she deserves to lose her job, since she's over the entertainment stuff, and this is a colossal failure. And you're gonna hire, because I imagine the decision was left up to her. And you're gonna, but granted, I don't know, maybe it was Jeff Bezos, but you're gonna let JD Payne and Patrick McKay, guys that don't have any credit to them, like, lead this. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I've heard, I can't remember if it's Payne or McKay, but one of them apparently really does know a lot about the lore, but that doesn't show through on screen. And so also they couldn't, so I guess to get the full backdrop, apparently they had season 2 written at when season 1 was filming and everything, but also they weren't there for a good portion, as I understand it, for the filming of season 2 because of the writer's strike. So Lindsay Weber, if I understand it correctly, finished a lot of it up. Either way, don't matter. It sucks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we have this like whole, like seriously, this scene with Halbrand from the time it opens, dude, it's close to 25 minutes, and some of this is just like repurposed.
And what does it teach us, David? Did we learn anything new?
Where he got the pendant from.
Oh yeah, and how I forgot about that. Nobody vets anyone
important.
in Middle Earth. I forgot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they definitely don't.
Galadriel's like,
hello,
yeah, that's
stranger.
right. You're the king of the Southland, and Adar is as well in this season. Yet no one does anything beyond just looking at a pendant. Apparently,
I don't know, man. And like it's even stuff for me, and part of it is probably being so cynical about it. But even the stuff where like the ship gets attacked by the sea monster. I'm like, well, that was kind of convenient, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that was
everyone,
really convenient.
And it's so funny too because like part of me thinks that scene was there specifically for the criticism of how on earth, like it still doesn't really explain a lot of it, but like how and why was Sauron like floating out in the middle of nowhere, right? And then they're like, well, we'll show you, we'll explain it, and they did, and it's like it's still dumb. What was he doing?
And then
why did he go with them?
Galadriel just happens to come upon them, just like, oh well,
yeah,
what a
she just swims up.
Him.
He's like, what, dude? It's so stupid. It's so stupid, and it makes zero sense.
This scene right here between Elrond and Galadriel cracked me up because it's a repurpose scene of the Nazgul chasing Arwen and Frodo and
like
the Fellowship.
Kinda, yeah.
But yet, like, she's trying to get the rings from Elrond, and that's why she's chasing after him, right? Because they're in that pouch. And I'm like, all he has to do is just grab them and put them in his lap.
Yeah, he could just put them inside his coat or like just in a pouch or like
anywhere else other than the most obvious spot for her to get them.
Yeah.
Like, let's not make it difficult at all.
And did he take? I don't even remember from season 1. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what was there context for that being the opening scene between the two of them?
Bro, I can't even remember. I was gonna go back and watch season 1, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
I couldn't.
But I do remember that Galadriel had a chance to tell Elrond and Celebrimbor that Halbrand was Sauron and chose not to. So all of this is her fault.
Yeah, and then she eventually does, and she like whispers. That's
no. She doesn't tell She doesn't tell Celebrimbor that Halbrand is Sauron. She just says you can't treat with
Well, I thought she
Halbrand. No, she
was
doesn't
that from
tell
season. Was that in season 1? Then was that from a?
She does not tell them in season 1 that Halbrand is Sauron. Or excuse me, she doesn't tell Celebrimbor that Halbrand is Sauron. She may tell Elrond that Halbrand is Sauron, but she doesn't tell Celebrimbor.
Okay, because there's a scene. I'm pretty sure it's in season 2 because all I remember from it is she goes, Sauron. She just like whispers it. It's Sauron.
Yeah, I don't think she tells him at all, and I think it is in season 2 where she tells Elrond that Halbrand is Sauron in the first episode. Anybody in the troll room that watched it,
which was zero of them. So we had originally planned maybe to have done this yesterday, but I struggled to get through 3 episodes of this. Part of that's because I worked a lot this week, and so I would come home and I'm like, okay, I gotta sit down and do this. And I was like, all right, let's try to knock these out. And I kept falling asleep, dude. It's so boring. Like it is not interesting.
It'd be like that, dude.
We spend in this first episode in particular, we spend a lot of time with this camp. Also, why is Halbrand here? Did he put himself in this situation?
So he left, I guess. Aragon last season, or was it after the blast or something? I don't know. But his grand plan is to um, convince Adar that Sauron's actually in Aragon, and then get sent back to Aragon, even though um, they already know who he is,
Well,
like
'cause
Galadriel does.
this
And
season
then,
he disappears. He disappears after he reveals himself to Galadriel, right? Like that was his final final
can't
thing.
remember.
I'm pretty sure that was the last time we see him because he does that and then she finds out. And you're right. Like I guess she hasn't at least up until now. I think she tells someone in season 2. Because that's why Celebrimbor, like she doesn't want. Well, maybe she has, dude. I don't know at this point, but like Celebrimbor didn't want to let Halbrand in, right? And
well, that was only because Galadriel told him and Elrond last season not to treat with Halbrand any longer, but didn't tell them why.
didn't tell him why.
Yep. And so that's the only reason why Celebrimbor isn't letting
Oh, maybe it's
doesn't
dumber.
want him there, is because Galadriel said that he couldn't treat with her.
Oh, it's dumber than I thought. Then
Yep.
okay, well,
And
shocker.
and so like I get the idea of, I think there is a good idea there of, I don't think Adar should be a character. He didn't create the orcs. That whole deal is absolutely stupid. But within the framework of their show, there's a good idea there of them trying to have Sauron manipulate Adar to attack Aragon by thinking that Sauron's actually there, and then have this war between the elves and Adar and those orcs. It's just the execution of it all, because within the dialogue of Halbrand and Adar, it's like Adar's not thinking at all, how would you know these things, Halbrand?
Yeah.
How do you know? There's one particular line that he says that harken back to that scene in the opening shot of episode 1, and it's just
Yeah, well, the
stupid.
writing's not clever enough to make Sauron interesting and as a manipulator. And this season really could have focused on that if, say, like season 1 actually did hit and they actually were like respectful and doing things properly,
Yep.
And then like season 2, it's like, well, this season we really do want to focus on Sauron and like how he manipulated everyone, and like you have real smart like dialogue, and the characters are really like top notch. And I mean, obviously, you'd have to change literally everything from the first season, just about. But hypothetically, right? Yeah, it could have been kind of an interesting situation. It honestly, the entire show being more centered on kind of like Sauron and what he did. Well, really, what they should have done, right? I mean, like, because they're kind of trying to do that. It's just not working very well. Like,
Right.
you want to make Sauron and Galadriel sort of the two leads, or you want two characters, because what you're almost going for is like you have like your two perspectives of everything going on. You can make it work, and then you have these little like those are like your A plots, and then you have your little B plots sprinkled in that are like there to add flavor, and other characters that we'll see along the way who you want to build up for like later battles or interactions when they finally meet your main characters. There's all this stuff that you can do for sure, and then like the season being focused on Sauron and how he was successfully manipulating everyone could have been very interesting and very clever, and but that's just not what we got. It's literally
Instead we get the Moses scene of let my people go,
and he's being pulled like Halbrand / Sauron / Anatar, and a lot of this feels like he's just being pulled through the plot because they need him to be in certain places. So he's here, he has to have these conversations, then he's got to go here, then he's got to go here, then he's got to transform, and then he's got and you're just like,
and this show is written like that. I think I said what did I say about? Let me pull it up. I think what I said on Twitter was that this show is written as, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, instead of it being a cohesive story where one event leads to another, and it's like, therefore this happened.
But this is taking place, therefore this other thing becomes a problem or whatever,
And consequences, characters face
Yeah.
consequences for the decisions, and
characters, like you were saying earlier, like characters react in ways that make sense. So if Galadriel found out that Halbrand was Sauron, and if Sauron, and this is what I'm saying, like, so is Sauron just not as big of a threat as season 1 wanted us to believe that he was? Because the way that Galadriel is treating this is as if he's not, as if it's not that big of a deal. Because if he is a massive threat, there's no reason he wouldn't tell Elrond what was going on. And then, and then the whole rings
even
thing.
if she had the save face, it's like, he deceived me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just...
And they freaking keep calling her Commander, and it ticks me off. Not one time do they say Lady Galadriel or something. I'm just like, freaking that intersectional feminism.
Yeah. I don't have much. We don't. The orc families aren't until episode 3, right?
3, right? Yeah. This is just him being like, I know where Sauron's at. Adar's like, where is he? Halbrand says something, and like, I'm not going to tell you. And then Adar's like, yes, you will. He's like, no, I won't. Then Adar's like, I'll make you tell me, or I'll kill you. And Halbrand's like, well, if you kill me, then what I know dies with me. And instead of Adar being like, no, you're not going to manipulate me. I don't need the information you have. I'm going to kill you. He says, you're going to wish you were dead. And then all that is the tweaker just hitting him a bunch with a club.
Yeah, and then he eventually escapes later on in the episode. So now we have Gandalf, not Gandalf. Which, bro, allegedly...
They get lost in the desert.
Bro, it's so lame. So, allegedly, we are going to find out the name of this wizard at the end of the season, and I'm really curious if they... And we might have talked about this previously. I'm really curious if they're going to retcon him and not make him Gandalf. So everything literally, like every sign pointed to him, almost like opposite Halbrand. Like it was so obvious who Halbrand was, and everyone's going, no, it wasn't, and then it was, and in this, everyone's like, dude, it is 100% Gandalf, and then they're gonna be like, no, it's this person, and you're gonna be like, then what was the point of all of this other stuff? It was, we were tricking you, and it's like, but that's not good writing because now you weren't giving us like interesting plot points to get us to like, oh yeah, it may like going back to watch it. You're not going to be like, oh, yeah, clearly that was the case. It's just going to be confusing.
Yep. I don't think they have rights, if I understand it correctly, to Gandalf or Mithrandir or to Stormcrow, which is his other name. So I don't know if, they're actually going to name it. I mean, unless they rented it out from Warner Brothers.
They're like, hey, can we use his name once, please? We'll give you like $100 million.
And it's like, here's the thing. I don't mind them getting lost in the desert, but how do you not get lost in the desert? It's like this. You don't have them say, we're going around in circles. How do you go around in circles in a desert where when you look at the land, right, the geography,
and you go one direction,
it's really easy. With Frodo and Sam, it made sense, like visually, along with the dialogue, why they were going around in circles and why they were lost. There was smog. The land all looked the same.
Isn't it also implied that Gollum was doing that, or is he what helps? Is he who helps them get out of it?
He helps them get
out. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. The terrain makes a big deal. Like if it's hard to see where you're going, you might
and
actually
everything
start
looks the same and stuff.
And going in circles or getting lost or whatever. No, you might even. I guess like if you see specific geography again. I don't remember. I can't quite remember from the movies how they did that, but like being lost in like a specific place and you can't find your way out, and it feels like you've been stuck in there forever. Versus like you're right there, it's clear as day. There's clearly a direction that you need to head in. It's definitely different.
Hey, just keep the sun behind me.
It's not like sand dunes, right, where everything looks exactly the same. in a situation like that. That's kind of how you would have to treat that if you were like, oh, it feels like we're never getting out of here. Like we're actually lost. Like, are we going the right way?
And then she says, we don't have anything to eat while she has a full head of olives on her head.
Bro. I'm not real thrilled about his character stuff so far in this, where he's still like doesn't have control over his magic.
Right.
Like
it's dumb. Here's the thing with that. It's that we're still like, why have a mystery box of a character and not reveal it by the end of the season? I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing to have, but I don't think it should be continuing the season 2, because we got to get the care for the character and know who this person is. And it's like, how did he even learn English? And on top of that, we didn't get to talk about it in the beginning of the episode with Elrond and Galadriel getting there with Gil-galad. I don't know if it showed that part yet or not. But that's the other thing. They're speaking in English, and then they go to speaking Elvish, and it makes no sense because you're automatically assuming they're probably talking to them in that language, like speaking in Elvish. We're just hearing it in English, so obviously the audience can understand.
Well,
but it's weird to go from English to Elvish with other elves there. When it happens in Lord of the Rings, it's because there's different races there that don't speak Elvish.
Well, and it could also be something, if you, as a writer, if you want to have people pay a little closer attention to something, you know?
Yeah.
You could also do it that way. But yeah, you're right. It's weird. Like, yeah, if it's just elves there, like, just have them speak English, and it's obvious that they're communicating to each other. And like, you may not everybody may pick up right away that it's like, oh yeah, when they're all together, they're speaking Elvish, but obviously we're doing it in English so that you guys, you know, can understand. Or better yet, if you really wanted to make it interesting, you could potentially do what Shogun did, and if the elves are all together and there's nobody else present besides the elves, just have it in subtitles and have your actors learn the language.
Yep.
And make it more immersive. There's a lot of options, and none of them are necessarily wrong. But yeah, you're right. It is a little weird that you're like speaking in English and then you just switch over, and it does feel like, hey, we're gonna have them talk like this, and then we're just gonna have them switch over to Elvish so we can remind you, and because that's a thing. Like Elvish is a thing, so we need to put it in here. It's weird. Yep. Yeah, there's ways to do it. If you want to see it done properly, watch Shogun. That's how you do that. With another language, because you do it because there are certain things that you don't want someone to hear because you're not sure if you trust them right away, or you know how, like, one of my favorite things about Shogun and the way they did it is that they would when her name's slipping my mind, but when she would translate, and then like she would water it down when speaking to was it Tornaga, so that he wouldn't be offended because of the way that Blackthorn spoke.
Yep.
So there's lots of really, really interesting and smart ways. That's smart writing. That's the way that you do things in a clever way, because people will pick up on that and be like, oh yeah, like that's really cool that she does that.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, it was such a great idea they had to do that it became a meme online.
Right.
So, I mean, it just, your audience gets immersed in your story that way.
So he uses some magic, and he breaks open the bugs.
You will eat bugs and be happy.
Yeah, sure. And then they just have to remind you again, like, oh, I don't have he's like, oh, I don't have control over my power. It's like, thanks, dude.
Yeah, we didn't just see that.
I'm so glad that you're able to talk now so that we can get useless dialogue from you two.
Who taught him English too, by the way?
I think the idea is implied that with traveling with the hobbits that he learned.
Okay.
Yeah. That
nobody walks off trail.
Yeah. Bruh. They got to remind you of that stuff too.
Unless you break your ankle, then
or get attacked by bees or whatever it was. Bruh.
Yeah. Psychopath Harfoots.
I'm cutting through some of this because I'm curious. There wasn't really anything else in there. I think, is this where at night, this is... Oh, he talks about his home, but it's like a feeling...
Nothing's as heavy as what was it, carrying home or something like that.
Yeah.
Something dumb. There's a lot of dumb sayings in this. Like Gil-galad says at one point, "We must risk to chance." I'm like, that's the same thing. You could have just said, "We must risk it," or "We should take a chance." We must risk to chance it.
I'm gonna.
No one talks like that.
I'm gonna skip through some of this Halbrand stuff so that we're not 6 hours into this thing. Okay, I need you to answer a question for me because I missed it or something. Who is this?
That's Círdan.
Okay.
The shipwright. So he's the one that takes everyone to the Great Havens, and then from the Great Havens to Valinor. At the end of Return of the King, when Gandalf and Frodo get on the ship, Círdan's on the ship. I mean, I don't think they actually show Círdan, but he's the guy that transports people.
And he got the third ring, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's the one that gives the ring, Ninya, to Gandalf.
Gotcha. I was a little confused by that because I just somehow I missed that.
And he's supposed to be the only elf with a beard, but instead they show him shaving his beard with a seashell. Oh yeah, so we did miss the. I guess we went beyond the
when
scene
they're
with Gil-galad and
over here, right?
Galadriel when they're well. Oh no, we haven't got to the ring scene yet.
No,
That's
we
right,
haven't.
Okay,
dude.
okay.
Oh, bro. For as bad as those rings look, they sure like to show them off in the show.
Yeah.
Dude.
So, I'm loving this scene between Gil-galad and Galadriel. How he, knows that she was deceived and everything, and yet she faces absolutely no consequences from it.
Of course not. She never faces
outside
consequences.
Of you're not going to go back and face Sauron alone. At least he had the sense enough to do that. Congratulations, writers. I'm glad you did that.
Weren't they going to abandon Middle-earth anyway? Like, literally, wasn't that...
Yeah,
weren't they leaving?
Yeah, because what the writers are saying in the show, which is wrong, is that the reason why the elves fade is because of Mithril, which that's not true.
That's
the reason why the elves eventually fade away is because they're originally from Valinor, Aman, and Middle Earth decays and they'll as well. The longer they're away, the longer amount of time they're away from Valinor, the longer they will fade away. And so they have to go back if they want their, maintain their immortality. And the whole point with the elven rings, we'll get there. Never mind. I'll get too ahead of myself.
I just realized
it's just stupid things they changed. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, why? Why would you change this? Sauron didn't make rings for the dwarves. He made rings and then just happened to give them to the dwarves. But he didn't make dwarven rings of power.
Bruh.
Specifically for the dwarves.
Hang on. Oops. Bro, I just totally messed something
And
up.
again, you know what? I'll
good.
take
Keep
that
going.
back. I
Keep
don't
going.
necessarily even mind them saying. I don't really have a problem with them being like Sauron specifically making rings for the dwarves in this manner.
Yeah.
It's just everything around the show sucks. So because they take that liberty, I'm just going to criticize it as well. You know why? Because screw them. That's why.
Right.
Screw it. Not them. Excuse me. Not them. It. Because screw it. That's why. They don't need to be personally attacked for making a crappy show.
Fair enough. Okay. Just realized.
And just a morally gray bullcrap with everything too. It's just
sure.
like, come on, not everything has to imitate your life in Hollywood, being morally gray. We know Hollywood's evil. We get it.
Oh no.
What?
No, we're good. My computer's being a little funky. We're still good. Like, we're still live and everything. I just... Crap.
But man, and now I'm just kind of with War of the Rohirrim. I'm nervous as well because the American trailer and the Japanese trailer tell two different things.
I still need to watch the Japanese trailer. I haven't done that yet.
Let's see. You're having some issues with your computer.
This is what I get for going down to 2 monitors. Because when I click off of certain things, it messes up my
feed.
Yeah, it messes up like what people are seeing on YouTube. It's fine. It is what it is. It's some stuff I got to work out. It's no big deal.
Is it back up and acting properly on the tube? Let me check.
Yeah, it's totally fine on YouTube. I just need to. I'm realizing certain things, so I gotta hop back and forth a little bit differently. Because like every time I hop over, to where we're watching, or like where the feed is for the show, it makes the chat disappear or the troll room disappear. And I know how to fix it, but I can't fix it like easily right now. So it just is what it is. All right. You ready to get back to that's not what I need? Why did that all of a sudden become the thing?
Let's do it.
That's totally wrong, bro.
What's up?
Why did it do this? Hang on.
They just get the whole essence. That's fine. I'll just continue to
keep talking. Keep talking. I just
everything.
need a second. Yeah.
They just get the whole. They get Tolkien completely wrong and his works completely wrong. They don't understand the parts nor the sum of the parts to make a cohesive story that makes sense, something to where they can adapt, even if they wanted to tell their own story. And here's the thing. The beautiful thing about what they're trying to adapt with the appendices and the Lord of the Rings is that there's enough of a story there to where there's some things they could take more creative liberty that we spoke about last season that stays in line with Tolkien's intent, his themes, his spirit, his ideas, his characters, his characterization, and everything. But the fact that his story and what he represents is everything that they are against, it's impossible for them to adapt it.
Right.
Because they're clearly inserting their own ideas, their own ideology within the storyline. Primarily speaking. And then there's some things like, every once in a while that may shine through that's like, oh yeah, that's there. But as a whole, it does not.
Yeah, for sure. I have fixed it, by the way.
Nice.
Mostly.
But I guess that's just because we have not seen what they have seen, And you would think with them living in Hollywood, they would see a lot of crap, but I think the other thing too is, David, is like, you think about it, and we've talked about the issue with Hollywood's writing as a whole when it comes to various movies and TV shows, generally speaking, is that, one of the things we've talked about, and I think too that Chris Gordon nailed on the head when I listened to him a long time ago speak on the issue, which was, it seems to be with a lot of the writers and the showrunners, etc. There's not a lot of experience in their life experience. Tolkien fought in World War I, went through a lot of heavy things, survived World War II in the sense of as a civilian. And not that I want to say that I'm God and I know all these writers and showrunners' lives and everything they went through, but what's shown on screen doesn't indicate to me. Maybe it really is they're just bad at writing and it's not life experience, but it just doesn't seem that there's a lot of life experience there, or at least the life experience they have, instead of it being from this moral framework, it's this relative framework where nothing really matters. And so we got to humanize Sauron so the audience can relate with him. We got to humanize the orcs so the audience can feel bad for them and feel pity on them. Just so many different things that create issues in this show specifically, along with The Witcher, Halo. And when you look at The Witcher and Halo and I should say The Witcher Rings of Power and Wheel of Time, they all look the same too on top of that. So there's not really any creativity in that department. I can go from the Acolyte to Rings of Power to The Witcher to Wheel of Time, and there's not really that much of a difference aesthetically when it comes to the costume designs of a lot of them. And they really don't even understand too how to insert their own ideology within an IB to where it makes sense as well. When they want to have something that's diverse, it's like, okay, well, you can have this faction be like we talked about it with Game of Thrones. What made Game of Thrones smart is like a lot of the people in Westeros were white because it's further away from the sun. The closer you got to the sun in Game of Thrones, in that world, the darker skinned people became. So,
yeah, dude. Yeah, that's the biggest problem, but people don't want to take the time to do those kinds of things, and that's the problem with fantasy. And like I've mentioned it before because I have a friend who's written for television, and she doesn't like to write genre for specifically those reasons because it gets really complicated. You can't write genre, meaning like sci-fi, fantasy, like all that kind of stuff, and then expect to do it in a way that's like a serialized, like it's not. This is not NCIS,
Well, I mean, exactly. But here's the thing, David. Even with their ideology, if they're like, we want a diverse show, or if they're like, hey, we want an all black show, we want an all female show, we want an all whatever show, or we really want to highlight this, then go adapt a piece of fantasy work that displays that. There's plenty of stuff.
Yeah.
There was an episode we did 2 to 3 years ago where I literally came up with a list of fantasy books from Africa that they could adapt. That's right for the taking. That fits, exactly what they want to put on screen. But it's again, they don't want to do that hard work because there's hard work in taking something that's not known and making it known versus taking something like Lord of the Rings, that or Halo, or insert IP that's popular that already has a set fan base where they can get that return on, supposedly get that return on investment, right?
For sure. Sorry, there's probably people watching this that are like, "What the heck is David doing?"
No, you're fine. It's the same thing, I don't really care for Star Wars, but it's the same thing with Star Wars in the sense that, if they had a female lead as a Jedi, okay, great. Let her go on a character arc and development journey to where she doesn't start off amazing and she makes mistakes. And, you go through the highs and lows. But as the story's progressing, the highs the peaks are becoming higher and the lows are becoming higher as well. So it's not, devolving, it's evolving as it goes.
For sure. Oh, well,
they just don't know how to do it.
For sure. And you're right. Like, you really have to do, I say research, but what I mean by that is that you really have to, sorry, I'm trying to make this work properly. You do really have to like plan out your stuff.
Yep.
And if you don't plan it out, it's kind of like when you have problems mess up on your stream, your OBS, and you're trying to like fix it on the fly. It causes problems. But yeah, if you don't plan, if you don't have the things like worked out ahead of time, especially with fantasy, and you don't kind of have this idea of like, okay, so how are we going to, without just saying, man, it's taken us 5 days to get here, or whatever, how do we imply that? And how do we do it in a clever and smart way? And unfortunately, with the way that television and movies, the way that all that stuff works now, turnaround time has to be so fast with this stuff.
Yep.
And some of that's money reasons, because the longer that you're in production, you're going to end up spending a lot of money. And
people forget. I mean, you got to think, like, with the pace that this show is on, even if it was good, you got people to be committed for 10 years. Like, with how the rate at which it's going, with just taking everything to develop, is the same thing with House of the Dragon as well. So by the time one season finishes, you have to pretty much be done with filming the following season, so that within a year time frame everything can come out.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's hurting it as well. But I mean, you got to know what you're doing. You got to plan it out. You got to make sure you have the right people involved. Are you good now? Are you still fiddling?
I'm still fiddling. It should be working. What's wrong with
It's all
this
good.
thing? Sorry, everyone. I know this is...
But that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing.
What the heck, man?
I really think that had Amazon hired and kept the right people, this would be a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're right.
But it's the same issue we face with every show. They disrespect the lore, and then they go after the fans like it's our fault that they create something bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And that we don't like it. Robert Downey Jr., for example, more than likely isn't going to save the MCU.
Oh, dude, no way. I think
bringing back Captain America, which they're probably going to bring back Chris Evans. He's not going to save the MCU. It's the writing. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, well, it's a number of things, and a big core of that is the writing. So it's, Robert Downey Jr. definitely has pull as far as, like, he's not coming back as Iron Man, Yeah, it's the attention
he's coming back as the Green Goblin, right?
It's the attention to what they were doing, that's the thing that makes a big difference. And unfortunately, they decided that wasn't going to be the thing that they wanted to do.
Yeah. Sorry, David's having technical difficulties right now, so I'm trying to keep this show going while he's figuring out the behind the scenes stuff, so y'all can actually see what we're seeing.
This is what I was looking for.
But Sauron just is not a threat in this at all.
No, not at all. And
they whooshed him down. There's no masculinity in this show. All the male characters are wusses. There's nothing wrong with showing a man crying. That's a good thing. But good night, dude. Every single character in this show just freaking crying, man. Like every other scene. And it's just like I also feel like the darkness and grittiness of this. Like I get what they were trying to go for. It just doesn't hit because everything about the show just falls apart. So who cares about the darkness and grittiness? I do think the music this season is better, but it feels disjointed from what I'm seeing on screen. Like I'm hearing this really great music, but what I'm seeing on screen is terrible.
Honestly, I think some of the music sucks this season.
Really? I thought it was better.
I didn't really much care for it last season, but there's a lot of it that doesn't, and maybe this is kind of what you're getting at, but like there was a lot of it that didn't feel it felt off. Like the pacing and the timing of the music wasn't making sense for what was being shown on screen. Because a lot of that makes sense too, right? So because the way that a lot of music, especially stuff that's like orchestral, they're watching the scenes and playing the music to the scene. So there's specific timing and certain beats and certain hits that you have to nail, because otherwise, if say like you're off on like a certain beat, people are going to notice that. They may not know exactly what's going on, but they're going to notice it. Yeah. I think I fixed it. Hopefully this will show up.
Got it.
Yeah, hopefully this will show up in
my boy.
I know. I'm very smart. uh,
I didn't pass the 4th grade for no reason.
no kidding. It hasn't popped up on the stream yet, though.
No, it's there. I see it.
Oh, it is. Oh, my stream's
Yeah.
oh, sorry. I think my stream's delayed.
It has a picture of you in your underwear.
Oh no! What have I done? Okay, so
with a Hallbrand shirt on.
we're back. We're back talking about the show. Was there anything else from that interaction?
No.
Forgive me, everyone, for slightly getting off track with that.
We forgive you.
Nori's fake Sam friend shows up.
Oh,
and they almost beat her to death with rocks.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
That edit was horrible,
dude. I was going back through some of this before we started. I had fallen asleep at one point during the first episode, and it was clearly during this scene where do you remember what her friend's name is?
No, I think it's shoot.
Poppy?
Poppy?
Is it Poppy?
Poppy.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I feel like you
Poppy.
should look that up.
No,
or
we're
don't.
just gonna go with
We're gonna
Poppy.
go with Poppy. Anyway, I like fell asleep and woke back up.
I think it's Nori. And Poppy, and I think she's Poppy. Or we could just call him female Frodo and female Sam.
Right. But I fell asleep during the scene and then like woke up right after it, like had nodded off for a second. And so when she's in the next episode or whatever, I was like, wait, where'd she come from? I was like, was that did they forget to, but that was on me. So
Yeah,
but
that was too funny. Of who could it possibly be that's following us?
Oh, I know.
This entire time, definitely not one of our friends. And then the edit of that was so horribly done. And speaking of another horrible edit, I forgot to say when Sauron gets murdered by the orcs, he his black goo, so it goes down into the cave, right?
Right.
And then it cuts away like there's going to be a commercial, and it comes right back with that same shot.
It's pretty good.
Oh, right on cue though. Right on par with the show. And that's the same. And so like with that scene with Poppy, it goes, it cuts to the rope as she's coming, and then it cuts to Nori, because I think like Poppy trips, not Gandalf pulls the rope.
Yeah.
It cuts to Nori tossing the bag on her, and then it cuts again, and then it cuts does a jump cut to Nori for a split second, laugh, and then it cuts, and they're together.
Can't quite get it.
It's just it's a real awkward scene of events and how it's edited.
Oh, for sure.
Nothing like
lots of
smooth and
jump,
flows.
jump. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just like with as expensive as this show is, those aren't the mistakes they can be allowed to make.
So they almost throw the rings away, right?
Oh yeah. Círdan takes it out. He's gonna toss it, and then it gets bumped, presumably by Olmo, who is the Valar of the Sea and stuff. And so because it gets bumped, that convinces Círdan to keep it, because as they're showing with these rings, which is not how it is at all in the lore, they're showing these elven rings, which were made in secret that Sauron didn't know were made. And the only reason why the elves take them off, and the reason why Sauron would be able to control them in the books, is because it's made from the same technique that Celebrimbor was shown. Maybe you could even say in the same material, right?
Gotcha.
So in any sense, they don't tempt and lure them in the same way that the One Ring does. Imbeciles.
Hallbrand. I guess we can still call him Hallbrand for now because that's what he looks like. Escapes.
Oh yeah, that was so great with he kneels before Adar and everything, and then he says, "I pledge by your life or my life or whatnot," whatever it was he says. So his allegiance to Adar based off of whoever loses their life first, and then he smiles at the camera, and it just goes in on like, guys, yeah, we get it. He's
Yeah.
going to betray Adar.
Yeah, we
Like
get
it's
it.
not clear as
Duh.
day as already.
We saw the beginning of the episode. We understand that he clearly doesn't like him.
Yes.
Stupid dude. Just had to set up their dumb. I don't even. Rivalry might not even be the best word, but why there's antagonism.
Conflict.
And
And then the tweaker gets killed as
yeah,
Sauron
tricks
sent
him.
off to Aragon to trick the elves or something to help Adar attack Aragon.
He's a tricksy one.
Yeah, tricker.
Yeah, you're right. They are really just acting as if all of the rings do the exact same thing. How boring is that?
Yes.
No variety. No, they just all do the same thing that the one ring does.
Yep.
Pretty much. But yeah, so the tree, they put the rings on, right? And then the tree just starts to regrow because like is there
So that's not how it is in the lore. What the rings do in the lore is they don't preserve the elves' life. They preserve the land around them. They assist in like that they can use their power to the rings' power to help preserve the Middle Earth around them because again, the elves don't fade, but the land around them does decay.
Right. I was trying to see because I think
And I can tell you
is the shot in here where they put their hands together like it's freaking Captain Planet. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes,
it looks really bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for some of the people who designed like these landscapes.
Yeah.
Like the big landscape shots. It's a lot of work.
So and those rings. One of them, Ninya, basically I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's not Ninya. Ninya is the one that Galadriel has. Narya is the one that Círdan originally wears, and then he gives it to Gandalf, and if I remember correctly, it helps to inspire hope, and maybe something with fire too.
Okay, here I'm about to pause this and show everybody. Oh, brother. Here's that shot. Oh, man. There's quite a few of these. There's one in the second episode, too, of them showing off Galadriel's ring again, which might be the worst looking. Hers looks the most like a ring pop to me.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about bottom of the barrel, but this one...
No one holds their hands like that, especially men.
Right.
Like when... that's...
What's annoying about it is it's a shot specifically to get that shot.
Yes.
It's not natural.
Organic.
Yeah, it's not organic. And that's... If you're going to do it... And I would probably say... Because I think the... I can't... Oh, the next... Yeah, it's in the next episode. The shot isn't necessarily bad. It's just the ring doesn't look good, so it messes with the shot because she's digging in the ground, and it's just it's like a couple second shot of her hand digging, and it looks fine as far as like the composition and everything, and their camera works in certain times. It's totally fine. It's acceptable, right? But the design of the ring is so bad that it's like you're like ugh, like ugh, get it off the screen.
Yes.
We'll get there in a minute.
Like they weren't tainted by Sauron. They weren't evil. They're pure. And it's like so Gil-galad's ring, Villa, that one's the most powerful and kind of like. Here's the thing. So like the it was considered the mightiest, but like if I remember correctly, I want to say all of them, Narya, Ninya, and Villa, their powers are technically, in a sense, ambiguous and in a sense not. So villas had the power to heal and preserve, if I remember correctly from the books. And the one Galadriel's Ninya, see, I want to say it was a great source of. I can't really remember.
It's okay.
I'm trying to think. I should Google it, but and then Darius was Círdan. Círdan ends up giving it to Gandalf, and it had the ability to inspire others around him. So that's why was one of the reasons why Gandalf was able to get people to rally to whatever cause he needed.
So, and then episode 1 basically ends with Halbrand wanting to negotiate with Celebrimbor.
Yes.
And he's down at the gate. Oh, I forgot about that scene, but we don't want to talk about that right now. There's a couple little montages, but this is basically where it ends. He's down there, looking at him. Actually, that is pretty much where it ends, right? This is all
okay. So
stuff
Galadriel's did have it helped with light, and it did have the powers of preservation and concealment as well. So she was able to hide Lothlorien from Sauron, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So thanks, Troll Room, for helping me out.
So we're gonna move on to episode
two. Yay!
Which I guess I need to. Do I need to reshare that with you?
Yeah.
I can't see that, right? Okay.
Oh no, I can see it. I gotcha. On watch together.
Wait, you can see. You can.
What is that? Isn't that Círdan or something, or the elves at Aragon?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what you're looking at. Maybe,
let me refresh it.
Hang on a second.
Oh no, I lost.
Think
yeah, you got to reshare.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there we go. We got old Disa and
yeah,
what's his face, Durin the 3rd or 4th or 18th, because I don't know. They don't know what they're doing.
Let me see if this worked. It's a little off center. That's annoying. Every time I have to read. There's almost no easy way to make this stuff as seamless as I need it to be. I guess that's what you get for having open software or whatever.
Yep.
You gotta roll with some of the less. There we go. That should be good. We're rolling.
Yeah, this whole thing with the
rolling with it, folks.
Dwarves in this episode is dumb. Basically, I can kind of summarize the storyline for them so far, which is, because of Mordor, the light and the mountain disappears, therefore they can't grow fruit, and they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? It's not like we don't have expensive jewels that we could trade with people who'd be more than willing to give us food in a trade. And so they're freaking out.
And their grain reserves are what? I don't think it's in this episode, but their grain reserves are 3 months or something. It's really bad.
Yeah, they could easily just trade.
Yeah,
go outside. They don't. The dwarves don't eat veggies and stuff like that. They eat meat, but whatever. I mean, still.
Yeah, you're right. That's the whole. They show this elaborate mirror system. I'm not really mad about it or anything. I don't know how lore accurate that is, but they're attempting.
No, but who cares?
Yeah, they're attempting to show you hey, here's something. They live underground. How are they getting crops? So they're just okay, we'll do this. No big deal, and it helps to set up their issue or whatever. But yeah, you're right. The whole dilemma is weird because they are wealthy. Cause they should have plenty. They are mining mithril, veins of mithril.
Yep.
What do you do? Again, it's not always maybe their setup. It's the logic behind everything.
Yep. They could easily trade some mithril or any of the other jewels. It's not like that was the only thing they had.
Right.
They could easily trade anything with the elves and people around them to get all the food they wanted.
Yeah. Strike up some sort of deal with, local the local
Aragon.
farmers or somebody that's going to help make sure that you guys have the food that you need. That's commerce,
So that's completely dumb. And then I don't necessarily, the whole
Trading commerce.
Elven or the female dwarves singing, to become one with the mountain and everything. Okay,
yeah,
whatever. I think it's dumb. I don't necessarily that much care too much about it.
So it's like they sing and can carve out the mountain. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
But it wasn't the whole point that maybe I'm wrong about this, but wasn't the whole point that dwarves have kind of an insane amount of stamina? They're not always the fastest. Yeah, so so the idea is that the reason that they're able to dig out and create all the things that they do is because their endurance is crazy. They can just go and go and go and go, even if they're not. And that was kind of something that was hinted at in the Two Towers, because Gimli is able to essentially keep up with Aragorn and Legolas. He's just not as fast as either of them.
Yes.
And it's it's because dwarves they're very strong, and they have really, really good endurance, because you have to be able to do that in order to create the kind of things that they did in the mines, and to basically dig through rock to find the things that you're looking for. So yeah, it's a little bit weird that they're oh no, it's magic singing. I'm I don't. Yeah, it is. It's
one of the things that I dislike about the show is how they don't understand Tolkien's magic system. It's definitely, and do I have these terms correctly? It's a soft magic system, so it's not.
It's soft magic, because
it's not hard magic.
Right. His is much closer to soft magic, because it's not. There isn't essentially a detailed explanation of it. Whereas,
but it's based in realism.
Yeah.
It's there's actual rules and stuff in this world that you can't just jump off a cliff, because when that happens, even if you are Elvis, you'll die.
Yeah.
Gandalf and the Isatari and Sauron, they have certain, and Galadriel and certain of the elves have certain abilities, but it's still not like the show makes it out to be. It's much more grounded.
Yeah, well, it's really less about the grounding of it and the kind of rules, I guess, behind it. And it's a little more when Gandalf uses magic, it's different from Harry Potter, where Harry Potter would be closer to a hard magic system, because you have to say this in order for this to happen. You have to, and now, of course, we won't go. It's not sort of the crazy off the deep end areas that Harry Potter goes with its magic system, but the whole basis of it is, Expecto Patronum does a very specific thing, and it's explained to do a very specific thing, and so when someone says that, what's going to happen, right? It's a fire spell has a very specific thing, and so it's you go down the line. Whereas with Lord of the Rings, it's a little more Gandalf's doing some stuff and something's going to happen, and that it's magic, but we're not going to go into a ton of detail as to why that's the case. You essentially just accept that he's magic, and that he can do magic. That's kind of the difference. So after that, the episode opens up after the opening scroll of Galadriel looking at the grave or memorial of her brother. I don't know.
Memorial, I think.
And she's having some nightmares. Celebrimbor gets pulled up onto this. You've got more insight into this than I do. What's this about? Is this just a warning kind of nightmare? Okay, I mean, I figured it was.
I think what they're trying to hint at, what they're trying to develop within Galadriel, is she's starting her ability to be able to see into the future, or as Gil-galad would later say, things that are not yet to pass, which is a repurposed line again. And so I think that's what it's all about. And so then Celebrimbor recants part of the you know, 9 kings for men, 7 for
Yeah.
dwarves, and you know, in the darkness
Hey,
find
remember that?
them,
Yeah,
and
remember that?
yeah, Mimba.
I was looking for that shot that I was talking about a few minutes ago, where she, I think she did. I thought she did some digging in the ground. Maybe it wasn't at this opening spot, but I thought that it was. Oh no, it is because she plants the seeds. That's what she's doing. And the only reason I want to, buffering. The only the only reason I want to point it out is because the whole shot's just so you can see the ring again. That's the only
Oh, yeah.
reason they did it. Did I miss the shot? I missed the shot. Where was it?
I don't remember.
Maybe it's like right after the title.
Title card.
Mm-hmm. Title card. Man, that takes forever.
Yeah.
They really do linger on this stuff. Here we go. I was yeah. I just somehow I skipped right over the top of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I forgot about that.
Just a nice close up, right in the middle shot of that ring.
Yep.
It just, not. It doesn't work, man. They should have done
No, it
something.
doesn't.
They should have done. They should have done something different with all of them. They look cheap on these close up shots. So yeah. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. So yeah, she has this nightmare. This
Sauron is alone without army or ally.
Yeah.
What was some of the other
what
stuff
are they?
said that he played me like a harp, just not like a tune to my choosing, and then Elrond responded to her and said it was to the tune of your choosing because you know you chose to follow after him.
There's one in here. Let me see if I can find it. There's a
There's
couple,
one about flying.
Yeah.
Too, like
there's a couple lines in here.
we can kill 2 cockroaches with 1 boot or something like that. Oh, brother.
But they're talking about oh yeah, we may be able to crush 2 spiders with 1 boot was one of the lines because they're trying to figure out what to do about Sauron. And again, like
Sauron.
Have you
heard of Sauron?
They know this stuff about him. How or why? Like what?
Dude, this entire time during like the Anatar and the making of the rings and everything else, they don't know Sauron is back. They think there's peace.
But Sauron has been seen. So when they're talking about him, are they talking about the actual quote unquote person who is Sauron, or is it the idea of him, like the people associated with him?
Well, they know. Gil-galad knows that Sauron's back now because of Galadriel, but shoot, what am I trying to say? But in the lore, what I was trying to get at is they don't know that Sauron is back until much later in the Second Age. So
this was the one. It does not take the eye of the eagle to see your thoughts have flown far afield.
Yes,
that was a good one.
It's like, what are you saying?
All right. Yeah, they're trying to set up. So then we're back to Halbrand. He's attempting to get in to talk to Celebrimbor, which is what he spends most of the episode doing. And I think I had mentioned this in season 1, Joseph, but like the show does not respect your time
Nope.
at all.
Or intelligence.
As a watcher, it seems to just sit on a lot of these scenes for way too long. He's at the gate. Oh, I don't want to see him. I was told not to. Well, he wants to see you anyway. He said he's not going anywhere. And then we move on, and they come back, and it's the same thing. And then, like, it's not till close to the end that anything actually happens. We get introduced to new wizard.
Yeah, new dark wizard.
Which
you would think in all the settings where you could have somebody be diverse, it would be the Far East, and they do a white guy.
New dark wizard. And
which I imagine is probably going to be like one of the men that eventually become a Nazgul, unless it just so happens to be Saruman or one of the blue wizards or something like that that they end up going with. I'm imagining, they're going to either do the Witch King of Angmar or something like that. But the problem is, at least with the Witch King of Angmar, is that it's the wrong location and place for him.
He'll probably, if they go with a Nazgul, they'll be like, oh yeah, he was just one of the other ones.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Which, I'd be fine with that. I mean, that's fine. Some of them were great sorcerers and stuff like that. It's just the whole design of this. The whole design of the Easterlings are dumb, and then the Nods girls are also dumb.
Why is he hanging out in a tomb?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like a really powerful wizard, and he's like, I'm going to hang out in this dirty tomb. Was a little weird to me. But this is not, so we just don't, he is a made-up character, right?
Yeah. Because,
I guess
Tolkien didn't really write that many characters, so they had to go with a new one again.
Yeah, exactly. It's whatever. I mean, this is basically like, hey, remember the ladies from the first season or whatever? This is the person that's basically controlling them, like who's in charge. Yeah. And that's all we get, right? I think this is the only scene we have with him so far.
Yes.
And he's hunting.
And somehow he knows about the Isatari, which is the Order of the Wizards, and everything. So cares about Sauron as well. So who knows?
Well, he kind of looks like he could be Middle Eastern or Spanish or something like that, of Latin descent. It's kind of hard to tell because there's a lot of makeup going on and lots of hair. Yeah. So it's a little hard to tell.
And the scene shot as well.
Yeah. Could be, could not be. Employs a lot of white women.
His ESG score is way up.
Nori and the gang are...
He gets good investments from Sauron and the other evil people there because he has a high ESG score.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Lots of women hires. Yeah. So there's
the gender pay gap is reversed in Sauron's side in Middle Earth. There's a huge gap between women and men.
Yep.
In it. So.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that later in this season. Remember how they did they're stealing our jobs thing last season? Yeah. So yeah, Nori and the gang are still attempting to get through the desert. This has been I don't even think they're in episode 3. But we're getting there the entire time. And this is what I say, the show wastes a lot of time. It doesn't respect your time. They keep coming back to characters, and it doesn't, physically they are moving, right? But there's no development happening. There's almost no reason to show them. Why did they need this entire setting again to have someone following them, right? You could have condensed a lot of this into the first episode, and then you didn't need to show all of this and spend all of this time with them again. Right. There's just a lot of that's going on. So yeah, then we have the guys who, I guess they're mercenaries. Is that the idea?
Yeah. They're the Star Wars mercenaries.
Yeah,
people.
They're not, as far as you know, they're not something specific from the lore.
No, they're not.
Okay.
They're made up. I don't like the design for them. They're supposed to be Easterlings. Yeah.
So they hide. They missed a great opportunity here. You know how they've been complaining about food the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
They missed a great opportunity. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull to snag the shot, but they hide, and this like rattlesnake falls down while they're hiding, and it's like, oh no, their location's gonna be given up to these guys that are trying to kill them, and that whole deal. And then one of the guys throws a knife at it and like kind of leaves the snake there. I can't believe one of the hobbits didn't go like, ooh, breakfast or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a perfect opportunity just wasted because they didn't think about it. You know? Oh man, glad we got away. And then the female Sam, is just like, oh look, breakfast or something. Disappointed, Joseph. I'm disappointed that they can't. It's like the small stuff. They can't even, like what's her character? You remember how like Merry and Pippin, there was like one of the things that helped really characterize them in the first is, and it's the meme now, right? Of like second breakfast.
Yep.
And like how they're talking about all of that stuff, and you're with those characters, and with this, you're not getting those kinds of moments. Now, if they had put something directly like that in here, then obviously we'd be sitting here talking about, well, hey, that's just the same thing that they did before, right? You're not doing anything new. The idea is more, you got these characters who are on this journey. If you're going to have us constantly come back to them, they're doing this, but they're not doing it in a way that's interesting, where they are talking and you're learning more about the individual characters based on the conversations and how they react to certain things.
Yep.
Merry and Pippin, it's like breakfast, and then they're like, okay, well, yeah, what about second breakfast? What about this? So you're learning something not only about those two characters, but about Hobbit life and how all of that works, because it was thought out, and it's just not the case here. We're not even getting anything like specific.
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit already about the female dwarves singing. So we don't really need to talk about that again. Oh, and then of course there's this whole thing going on with the Durins, where they don't want to talk to each other.
Even though their people are facing an existential crisis, they're like, no, let's keep on arguing. That makes complete and total sense.
Yeah, well, Durin gets bullied in the mines. Dude, bro, I laughed so hard at this.
Dude, that was hilarious.
He gets like pushed, but he's like, I'll bite your finger off. And then the guy like shoves him. I was like, dude, he's getting bullied.
And he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do
He's
anything.
Like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
All talk.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, bro. Not exactly a good moment for Durin. That's not something I would have kept in the show at all.
No.
You don't do that. Like you're not helping the audience like connect with this character then, because you're like, oh dude, how lame.
Yep.
Like no one's going, oh no, poor Durin's getting bullied by his peers. And he's sad. He's like a sad boy now.
Dude, funny.
So yeah, and then most of the rest of what's going on with them is that he doesn't want to apologize. His father doesn't want to apologize. They're just being hard-headed about the whole thing. And you're right. It's like his people could be potentially doomed with what's going on, and neither of them are putting their pride aside. It's like, okay, the stakes are a little too high for this.
Yep.
It's a little. This isn't your normal thing, like the pride getting in the way for other reasons or whatever the case may be. It's just like, you all might die, and because you two won't talk to each other, you might get everyone might starve because of this.
Exactly. Really simple, common sense stuff that they're not thinking about.
More conversation about the rings. That seems to, at least for now, I don't think that they solve any, like, they haven't come to a conclusion about that stuff yet. So, like, Elrond clearly is suspicious of all of that.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Brain in this show.
Yeah. As of right now, right?
Yep. Yeah, as of right now.
And then Galadriel obviously doesn't think she's doing anything wrong and will face no consequences for the things that she does wrong. See, look at this. We're back to the hobbits again.
It's like, oh, brother.
And it's like...
Not again.
The whole thing is just like, oh, we don't have food. Oh, this. Oh, that. Sucks, dude. And he finds a walking stick.
And they get blown away.
Bruh.
Because he can't control his power.
Cool. And that's what I'm saying is like they're just they weren't literally going in circles, but their plot was going in circles. Because we have to just keep doing that, you know?
Yep.
I think...
Keep telling us the same thing over and over and over again about their arcs.
Yeah. He's still out here.
Character plot this season.
You know, I don't understand at this point. So, like, Sauron, Halbrand, whoever, he's been turned away at the gate, right? So instead of like going, okay, and like disappearing, right, or being like, I won't, setting it up essentially so that there shouldn't be any suspicion about him like turning into someone else, and then this other like Anatar shows up and is all of a sudden interested in rings, right?
Right.
That this is where the cleverness needs to come in, but that they couldn't set this up in a way. I mean, I don't know, dude. Kill Halbrand off. Like, do something so that this idea of like, oh, okay, maybe he actually is gone this time, or maybe you know what I mean? Like something needed to happen so that the elves, there's at least that like, ability for the audience to be like, oh yeah, they think he's gone this time, right? But even then, right. I don't know. I'd have to it'd take more brain power than I feel like trying to muster right now to figure it all out.
Oh, dude, I love it. Even better is the shot and the scene right here. You back up some to where it shows the umbrella covering Celebrimbor.
Oh yeah,
that umbrella is completely useless. Yeah, there's a shot of it where you get to see it as he's walking up, like further back, and it's completely useless.
Here, I might have to play the clip. Don't want to get nicked by YouTube for playing video. Oh, there it is. Hang on, I'll get a good shot of it.
Yeah. It's completely useless.
What is this thing? Fashion over function, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my goodness. So he invites him in to have this conversation after all of that.
Too funny. And it's just more about convincing him, trying to deceive him, which was, probably the better aspect of the show was the Celebrimbor stuff, because it was more in line with, you wouldn't guess it, but the lore. But it's not like, oh, hey, this is amazing. It's like, at this point, I just don't even care.
And he's basically like reborn in fire, right? Like this is how they're doing the transformation. And this is what you were saying before, that his transformations actually take time. So
they do. I don't necessarily mind this. It's I wouldn't say it's a lore break necessarily, for him to be revealed as like a Jesus figure to Celebrimbor and everything, but it's just probably the better aspect of the show in the sense of lore. They tend to be a tad bit more accurate in this, but not like not to where it's spectacularly done.
Yeah,
that's probably the easiest way to put it.
And then they send out invitations. Some sort of invitation. God. Rhaegon at first light with 5 of our bravest elves. All right. And that's pretty much episode 2.
Yep. So we've gone a whole lot of nowhere so far.
Yeah, so in 2.5 hours roughly for those 2 episodes, because the first episode's over an hour long. So far, hobbits roaming around the desert, Halbrand wandering around, and then he finally becomes he wanders around. He gets captured for whatever reason, right? Like for whatever reason he needs to go through that, and I'm sure they're gonna that'll come back up later on. But like for now, it's just sort of like, okay, what's he doing? Then he spends episode 2 standing in the same spot for the entire episode, and then transforms at the end. Galadriel has been. She gets a ring, and then she's been talking about plans, and now she's on her way to Aragon.
Yep.
What?
Warn Celebrimbor. Oh, this is the other thing we forgot to cover is Gil-galad gives a messenger, which, David, you would think, hey, the Dark Lord is back. Sauron is back. We should probably send multiple messengers, probably a lot of guards and warriors with this message to Rhaegon that's like 500 miles away, just to make sure this gets to Celebrimbor. Hey, Sauron's back. Halbrand is Sauron. Don't mess with him. We need to start getting ready for war and to go after Sauron as soon as possible. And Adar, in the scope of this, we're just going to send it with this one guy who ends up getting killed. Yeah, who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, it was like 2.
Because we got to have
3?
we have to have the plot move forward. So our characters can't act, or the High King of the elves can't act smart. Granted, this is the High King of the elves.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want reason and logic in our shows. That gets in the way.
No. Why would we want any of that? All right, so we're going to move on to episode 3.
Yeah. Thankfully. And it opens with Numenor, and we get Elendil talking to the horse, saying, I'm going to let you go, buddy. You're not happy.
Yeah, this is what we talked about earlier, and is probably one of the better parts of this.
Yep.
So we don't have to quite spend as much time. It's kind of nice. I don't know, man. I think like almost any show where like you show someone being like kind to an animal, it's hard not to like it. It's a tiny thing in the scope of everything we've talked about, and it took 2 episodes to actually get to something like that. So, most of the people who even attempted to watch season 2 probably didn't even get this far.
Yeah.
We had Red Ed in the troll room who said, refuse to watch this slop after the first part. So he must mean season 1. No.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, none of us blame you.
If it wasn't for this show,
bro, I don't know if I'd make it through. I would have made it through season 1.
Yep.
Maybe
if it wasn't for our podcast, I should say.
Maybe I would have watched season 1 out of curiosity just to like see, but and then this season it would have been like maybe, and then a few minutes into the first episode would have been like no, never mind.
Yeah,
never mind. Okay, so he lets the horse go, and the horse. This is where everything starts to go wrong, right? So the horse gets attacked by these orcs. Now, just for future reference, the show in a weird way is trying to humanize the orcs a little bit, trying to make them sympathetic to a degree.
Yes.
We haven't gotten there yet, and it's weird that they would show a lot of the other things that we've seen of the orcs so far and then try to do this. This seems like something you'd want to set up beforehand, But again, that's the show. It's like we said before, it's pretty amateur in the way that they're doing things. But beyond that,
Because if there's one thing we've needed, it's been, sympathetic orcs.
yeah. The orcs. I'm gonna see if actually. Hang on. I think I jumped too far ahead. The orcs get beaten. This looks terrible in the actual shot. This is all CG right here. The horse hits the orc and it flies up against the tree and gets like impaled or whatever. Which like I don't really mind. You're like, okay, cool. It's kind of cool. It's not that, but there's this line. Oh crap! Didn't realize the audio was on. There's this line as soon as the horse runs away. By these two orcs, and I just wanted to mention this because it's so goofy. Now, for context, if you guys remember, towards the end of season 1, when Mount Doom is created, a giant cloud of ash and fire, which a lot of people told us was something that people could survive.
Yeah, the pyroclastic flow to the
the
face.
And even if I was to say, all right, fine, Galadriel is magic, you win, doesn't explain everybody else that survived.
Yeah.
The rest of them are humans, like we haven't. They're not. They don't live forever. They don't. They don't have magic skin or whatever. Not to mention like the wildlife and the horses. Remember the horse that was just kind of on fire in the last season? And this also, how long do you think it's been since that cloud went off?
Oh, that's a good question. Man.
It can't be very long.
Not that long.
Like, if I was being generous, I would say a week.
Yeah.
So these orcs, right? They're like, no, it's getting away after it, and he says, no, let him go, and then I gotta pause this so I can get to the next part. And he says, that there's the Black Forest. Nothing comes out of there alive. How does he know that? Also,
and the Black Forest is made up, by the way, too.
It's been a week, maybe. If I'm being generous, it's been a week. So you're telling me, in the course of the week, not like lore has been created to this like specific spot already?
Yeah, that's funny.
It makes no sense. Like these orcs weren't here like a week ago. Like they've like all moved in, and then like now all of a sudden it's like, well, that area is the Black Forest. No one comes out of there alive. What are we talking about? Like the people who say stuff like that. Forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of the area, but you remember in Lord of the Rings when the hobbits they go in. It's not. It's where
Fangorn Forest.
Yeah, I think because that's where
Merry and Pippin meet the Ent.
Yes. And it's like very old, and there's there's like lore around the entire. No, not Fangorn Forest. No, in the first one, when they get captured on their way out of when they're leaving, when they're trying to. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, where Frodo and where Boromir dies. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Before that, it's like early on. So they're leaving, and it's where they meet Tom Bombadil. And he saves them.
Oh yeah, you're talking about in the actual books, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, the actual book.
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, you're good.
Yes.
Fangorn's probably
the
a good
Old
example
Forest.
too.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The Old Forest.
So, and that's the thing, right? Is like they're like, oh, the Old Forest. Well, it's pretty obvious that it's old. It's forest. It's been around. It's dangerous. You could say the same thing about Fangorn. There's like a lot of lore and a lot of talk about that area because it's been there for a long time. And there's been plenty of incidences and weird things happening around that. The show hasn't earned the right for these characters to say this.
Yes.
It's like,
Completely
dude,
agree.
You literally, like, that's just over there. Like, this whole area just became this. You know, and also it doesn't. So like that happens, right? And then like I'm just not convinced by what happens next because the horse goes off, it finds Isildur in this cave, you know, right down from where he ran away, right? We don't. This area's not that big that they're in. That got hit too. I don't know if you noticed that, but like, doesn't seem to take them very long to get out of the blast radius of this thing.
Well, and that's the problem with this show, is it is supposed to be this grand tale, right? This grand epic, but everything feels so small. At
And
what they're trying to tell at least. I'm not saying it is a grand epic.
I can understand, like, okay, there's a spider that lives in a cave. You know, it might have been in this area, but again, this area just became this, and the way that they're setting this up is as if Mordor. Like, it's this weird thing that's happening where it's like, it hasn't been that long, but like Mordor is like very quickly becoming Mordor.
Yeah.
So, remember the spiders, remember this, remember that. And so they're just throwing
everything.
Yeah, they're rushing all this stuff in there. And it's like, wait, well, why is the spider in this cave now? Like, this area was like inhabited and like doing all right before, and no one was mentioning like a crazy spider stealing people. Also, look at the size of the spider. How did this thing drag Isildur in there?
I love how did Isildur even get there? Why didn't we see that? That seems important to know.
He like the last time. What was the last time we saw him?
The last time we saw him was at the end of last season, if I remember correctly. Trollroom can correct me, and I believe they it was what happened to him was left on a cliffhanger.
Was the last thing we saw where the top of the house fell on top of him when he saved Muriel? Was that the last his last scene, and then everyone assumed that he was dead?
Well, I mean, we knew. Yeah, all the characters assumed that he was dead.
Did he?
But
oh well, it's not that important. But regardless, there wasn't any setup for him to have been taken by a spider.
Oh. Did you also, speaking of that, did you love how when they showed the volcano of Mordor, they put Mordor back on the screen, like doubling down on what they did? It's like, guys, there's only one freaking volcano in Middle Earth that we've ever seen. We get when we see a volcano, we're just going to assume it's Mordor. And in fact, if it's not Mordor, then you can tell us it's not Mordor.
Yeah, just put not Mordor at the top.
Yeah.
Bruh. All right, so the Numenorians, they're setting up. I mean, all this stuff. Honestly, dude, like I'm just so it's a lot of this is the same stuff that they're kind of doubling down on some of the stuff from last season. This like quote unquote political. This is where it's very Game of Thrones, you know, where he's vying for the throne, and it's just like. He's kind of like our surrogate Trump character too, right?
You talking about Karl Marx?
Yeah. He does look like Karl Marx. Dude, he's got like 2 sets of eyebrows too. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I love too how they have the conversation about supplanting Tarmiriel wide open in that bar.
Yeah, it's not great. I just don't. Was there anything? We get
no. It's just like she's
sad,
still blind that we know.
Yeah,
and like
dude,
so here's the thing with Arf Arazon is that he was a commander, a general. They reduced him to a effeminate politician, and he usurps the throne by taking Tarmiriel's hand in marriage. And everything, and that's in the collapse of Numenor. And one of the things that this show is completely missing the theme on, and it is not written well with Numenor, which are many things, but the main thing being is the downfall of Numenor happened when they rejected God, Eru Iluvatar. And so they started to call good evil and evil good.
Yeah, bro, that ain't happening in this. There ain't no way. No way. No. Dude, the eagle chose him.
Well, and that's the thing. The Eagles have been gone by the time Ar-Pharazôn is there for a while from Meneltarme. So,
But
yeah,
but it chose him, Joseph.
yeah. Well, I think what they're trying to show is that that the eagle was actually choosing Tarmiriel, but then that guy that's Ar-Pharazôn's man was like, oh, Ar-Pharazôn, like trying to make it out that it chose him. But here's the thing. Take out Tolkien, right? This is just a brand new IP that the show they made, right? That could work, right? You know how you do that, David? We spend a lot of time with these characters. We get to see, David, is there a show that has been written on political moves to where there's a lot of time spent around tables and characters in rooms talking, and you're getting to see things set up over episodes, and then finally, a person backstabs something or something crazy happens. Has there been a show made like that recently?
Mandalorian.
House of the Dragon.
Oh.
Game of Thrones. And it's like, so there's a way they could create that to where it's like if they want to have Ar-Pharazôn take over, again, not that you have to have a whole season dedicated to it or two, but
right.
you could at least set it up over a handful of episodes.
For sure. You have to spend time on the right stuff.
But everything's just moving at a too slow and at a rapid pace.
It's
a paradox.
For sure.
Because they got to have these events happen because they've condensed the timeline so much. Which, if they were smarter, they could have easily have done one story at a time. And when this part of the story gets done, and we do this over a 3-season arc, hey, you know what? We can do this new show, and we can keep some of these characters actually because they have a part of it. And we move on to this next part. Really could have set Amazon up for a lot of success. But, oh well. Your go.
Yeah, sorry. We got a $5 euro donation from Common People. It says above chat on screen. You should change it from top chat to live chat if you haven't. And he said never mind, and I put it on. I put it on live chat. Cool. So it's on live chat. Hopefully that works properly. Yeah, sorry. I've been having some difficult. I changed my whole setup, and I've been having a few little technical difficulties tonight, but we're pushing through. So thank you for that.
It's hard. We have our streaming hats on, but it's hard work. But we're making it work.
Yeah. We're trying.
This is a long shift for us, so just bear with us. I think we're gonna keep that joke going for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of the stuff that's going on early on with the Numenorians in these scenes is that it's just fallout from the battle, which is again done so poorly.
Yes.
Oh, she's blind. She's whatever, and then it's like some people. You have like the one lady who's upset because son died. And then this guy
and straight up slaps the queen.
Oh, bro,
that should have been instant death.
I know, yeah,
or
that's a
at
really good
least
point.
yell.
I don't think,
but because it's the directors are, I completely get. Hey, I lost my son. What they were going for, but if you're gonna have a character slap the freaking queen, they gotta face some consequences.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if I can nab that real quick.
Like, geez, these people just don't think. There has to be consequences for actions regardless of who the character is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
If you're going
right?
to write yourself into a specific corner, that's your fault. Let the character suffer the consequences.
Got her.
Oh, I can't see. Hang on.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face, Joseph?
Oh, yeah. Slap.
Yeah. They just. It's exhausting trying to like.
Especially from the framework of it's not like the queen just sat back and let everything happen.
She was in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, she went off the battle too. She got freaking blinded by it. Like,
yeah.
She uh, it's not like she just like let the peasants go to war and she just stayed home. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She didn't just wait around, right? She was actually out there with everyone.
Like, whatever. I don't care about their lives. Just send them all. Keep them going.
Yeah, and you would think that it'd be like, well, she was blinded in all of and everything that happened or whatever, so people would revere her more for that. But no, that again, it's that and then mentality. And instead of there being, because that really makes the most sense, is that even if you're going to have this political intrigue and you're going to have people trying to force her out or whatever, it wouldn't be everyone turning on her because Eagle, right? Like,
right.
Okay, so some people are going to believe that, while everyone else is like, and they sort of did that, but the end doesn't really help with all of it. They they do the whole thing where like it seems like she's gaining some, and then it's just like, oh well, now the pendulum switching completely in the other direction. And it's like, no, the way that it needs to be is that, like, if you're going to have people cheering in the crowd and being like, oh, the Eagle chose him or whatever they were saying, some of them are, and then you can see other people in the crowd who aren't.
Yep.
And that's how you set up, like, and it's so funny. We've been talking about it so much and we haven't even gotten there yet. But that's the way that you kind of do the back and forth, and then like, oh, okay, some people are still going to be on her side, and that's going to be the main drama like moving forward, because it makes a lot of sense that people would be like, well, she went with them, she got injured and lost her sight and everything that happened. It's another reason too that they probably should have just revealed that early on, kind of for the sake of the plot, so she could be like, I lost my sight in everything that happened because of us trying to like save people, and but that of course they're just like they're ignoring all of that.
I like common people's last comment. The queen is blind, yet walks the perfect amount of steps, then turns left at the right time, but needs help up a few steps. Yeah, they're very selective at when the queen needs help versus when she doesn't, in ways that's inconsistent to where it doesn't make sense.
Oh, for sure. They do, like, it's only like little things. It's so funny. Like she's like trying to find that lady and like kind of like grabs her and then goes in.
Yeah.
And then, you think like everyone at that point would be like, what's wrong with her? Oh, baby orc cry. It actually says baby orc crying. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe they made baby orcs, dude. And a female orc.
Would you like to
like, at least in this way?
Yeah.
You would think they would, if they were going to show it, they're just keeping with the mindset of the orcs being evil. So what I mean by that is this. Yes, did orcs reproduce in the same way that men and elves? Absolutely. But not to be crass, but because the orcs are who they are, totally depraved and evil, the female orcs would have been nothing but baby makers. That's probably the most kosher way to put it, if you catch what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not a nuclear family.
Yes. Hey, do we get maternal and paternal leave when...
Oh,
do you think they got
brother.
3 weeks or 6 weeks? That's what I really need answered.
It's probably 3, and they're fighting for 6, and that's why they hate Sauron. Yeah. Adar wants to give them 6, Sauron only 3. So yeah, just everybody's been memeing on that, so we got to point it out.
Technically, it is lore accurate. Like, yes, there would be, depending on which version of and what Tolkien said you wanted to go with, yeah. In that manner, absolutely not. Completely cheesy, and they would have been baby making slaves. That's the way to say it.
Yeah, no way that was getting accurately put into the show.
Yep, and the orcs wouldn't have cared about them. The male orcs.
Oh man.
And actually, you think about if they wanted to depict that on screen, that would make you people even more happy when orcs get killed. Like, it's okay to have objective evil and objective good.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so funny that that's kind of the simple route to go, and nobody really wants to do that anymore.
Wants to do that.
Yeah, like have just that they're bad. We're not giving them redeeming qualities. These are the bad guys.
And Sauron's bad. And then maybe, you know what you could do? Maybe you could have this, they could have, if they wanted the sympathetic villain or the sympathetic, like, anti-hero-ish villain, whatever route you wanted to go, you know who's perfect for that at some point you could do? A Nazgul.
Sure. Yeah, you could have a little bit of sympathy thrown in there because
I could go other routes with that too, but it's not Sauron and it's not the orcs.
So, Sauron, now Anatar reveals himself to a majority of our cast. I guess Galadriel's not here yet. Why did I think she was there already? Whatever. So basically, what's going? So we haven't done. Oh, hang on. Maybe I missed it? Did they actually have they talked to the Numenorians about the rings yet?
No, they have not.
Okay. So we're at the dwarves with all of that now. So it looks like they're doing them like one at a time. And by the end of this, they're putting together the rings for the dwarves.
Right.
Because he's promised that. And there's is it early on that they mentioned like there's like a straight up where was it? I wish I had marked it. Where Celebrimbor is just like the rings of power, like wink wink at the show, like or at the screen.
Oh yeah, and I think in that last episode
I found
too,
it. Right here.
Sauron says that he's going to be the Lord of the Rings.
Yo, dude. Yeah, he says they shall be rings of power.
You want to reshare it with me on Watch Together?
Oh no, you don't have this part. That's my bad. Give me a second. I can update it.
No, you're fine.
Boom, boom, boom. There you go.
They shall be rings of power. So cringe, dude.
Oh, it messed up my. I shall fix it. Yay, internet things. There we go. That'll work. Yeah. Plenty of stuff like that in this. They're still arguing, and like they're still Disa and Durin are still arguing about his father in this one, which we do get resolved at pretty much at the very end of the episode.
Which could have been resolved way in the beginning, but whatever.
Yeah, some of the plots in this. That's what I'm saying. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you a question. Is this part right here? Is this a reference to the bodies in the water in?
Yeah.
It's
like the dead marshes.
Yeah, it's like a direct reference, right?
Yeah, but the dead marshes haven't been created yet. The dead marshes were created in Second Age and the War of the Last Alliance when Gil-galad and the elves and men and the dwarves march on Mordor to fight Sauron, and that's when Isildur cuts off his ring and everything. Gil-galad and Elendil could actually defeat Sauron, and they die in the process, and that Isildur walks up to Sauron and cuts his ring off. That's what happens.
All right, so who, Joseph, is this new character that we have been introduced to? Seeing if there was a good shot in here with
I'm really
there she is.
Really hoping that it's not going to be Isildur's wife, because Isildur's wife is of Numenorian blood. But I think that's what they're going to go with.
Mm-hmm. It seems like at minimum they're setting up the love interest angle.
Yeah.
With her. This is common in a lot of shows, and so this one doesn't really get away with it. She stabs him in the thigh with a pretty big knife, and then pulls it out. And Isildur doesn't bleed to death.
Yep.
So
It's not like something too emergent. They just stitch it up, and then after they stitch it up, it pretty much has no more of an effect on him.
yeah, they just wrap that around him, and he's good to go. And she stabs him directly in the thigh, man. Like that is not. It's not good.
No.
They couldn't have thought of, first of all, did she have to actually stab him? Could it have just been like she, jumps him and then he wrestles her off and then it's like, hey, I'm not,
Yeah. Could have been anything else.
So, that's what it is. And, what's really
Should,
funny?
you know what would have been great? They could have easily have not written it like that. It could have just been like, she goes to stab him, but he blocks her from stabbing him, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you were an orc. I'm sorry." And now you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. So they come across this man right here, and I guess I'll give them the fact that like they gave Isildur this moment of like, see, he really like cares about people,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like she wasn't going, wow, you really care, don't you? It's actually a character moment for him of, he's foolish. It's like almost every once in a while, someone who's on that writing team is like, well, this is how we should set this up. And it's like, oh yeah, I mean, that's kind of textbook-ish. I'm like, I'm so hesitant to give them compliments about anything. But yeah, there's like, there's something to it. You get like, okay, still a little foolish, isn't very like smart as far as like worldly smart, to consider what might be going on here. But he actually cares about people. It's like, okay, you're just kind of setting that up. That's cool. And it turns out that he works for Sauron because, the way that they let you know that everyone is a bad person in this world is because they have that mark.
Well, it works for Adar.
Oh, Adar, excuse me. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
And then
But the real mystery is going to be that Adar was Sauron all along.
He can split himself now. It's not just that he can transform.
Yeah.
And he's
a Horcrux.
He's in rivalry with himself.
That's how he's fooling the elves.
Common people said, how many people came out of that small cart? Is it a clown cart? It's true. There were quite a few people.
Yes. They were being really quiet too.
And dude, I wish I could grab it, but I'm really trying hard to make sure we don't get demonetized for this because I don't have to edit all this out later. But Arondir, like, you can probably find it online. It was in one of the trailers. Him like bursting out of the cart and doing all these wild flips and stuff. It's like, dude, calm down.
It would have been better if they would have made the elves more grounded. I know they're just trying to make him look like Legolas. Act like Legolas from the films.
But it's like it's too. They went
too
full
over the top.
on, man. Yeah, and it's so funny because everyone. The argument, I don't know if you remember from the first season, but everyone was like, yeah, but Legolas slid down that shield. Look what he did on the elephant. And you're like, it's not the same, guys.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Let's stop pretending it is.
And even still, it's like they had an opportunity to do something unique and could have made the elves a lot more grounded. Because again, Tolkien wanted his work to feel like you're reading history.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset it should be adapted from.
And we get so Isildur and Arondir talk for a minute, and they basically like, oh, we have. He's like, I have my own thing to do, and for some reason he has this bundle of sticks just over here. Like it's the weirdest thing. He's like, yeah, I have my own like engagements or whatever the case is, and he pulls up this like all these sticks, and I immediately was like, hey, do you remember what that lady's name was? What her character's name was?
Ishtard, Istard, Esther,
no,
Morahan, idiot.
I can't remember. It slipped in my mind, and I don't even know if they mentioned her name in the episode.
Sauron's wife. It's something. I think it's like Istard or something like that. Istad.
I knew like as soon as he picked those up, I was like, oh dang, like they just killed her off screen because there's a
You're talking about his wife. I'm sorry. I thought
his
you were
like
talking
wife,
about Isildur.
girlfriend.
Bronwyn.
Oh, no.
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's it. Sorry.
I
don't know why I was thinking about Isildur's wife or the chick that was on screen a few minutes ago.
Oh, gotcha. They do a something that I found to be. We've talked about a lot of the amateur stuff that they've done in this. This probably would end up on the top of the list, like close to it, you know. So the actress who played Bronwyn decided for reasons not to come back this season. Now I think we had talked about in a previous
activism.
Yeah, in an episode that she was leaving because of her quote unquote activism. We all know that's not the case. We all know she got out because the show's trash and she realized it at some point and got out, you know?
Yeah.
But they kill her off screen. We get a opening montage from the first season and they set that up. Dude, it's so bad that they're trying to convince you that she wasn't alive at the end of season 1.
Yeah. No, dude.
And that she actually succumbed to the arrows that she got hit with, which probably should have killed her in the first season. But they basically are just retconning. Like they're not even like, okay, let's just get someone in who kind of looks like her and go, hey, Bronwyn, and like kill her off, you know?
Because they definitely set her up as an important character.
Yeah.
Like I believe at the end of season 1, if I remember correctly, she's like helping the Queen of Numenor. Like she's all healed up.
Yeah, she's a healer. She's gonna be important for
from the.
Oh crap! I was trying to find a good. You still there?
We spent a lot of time with her character last season, so you would have thought they would have just recasted her like they did with Adar, but.
Okay, here's the fire. Yeah, here's the funeral. R.I.P. Bronwyn.
And to sum up all this, it could easily be Bronwyn's dead. Arondir tries to have the not dad talk to Theo. Theo's like, nah. Isildur and Istard, whatever her name is. We got to figure out her name, actually. That's gonna
we probably should.
Yeah.
She's going to be around the rest of the season, so we should probably at least figure out what her name is.
I would rather just call her Istard, though.
Her.
Just the incorrect name, but I'm looking it up right now just to see.
Anyway, we move on to Durin and Durin finally confronting each other and having a conversation about what needs to be done. We find out that they only have 3 months worth of royal reserves, which is crazy to me.
Istrid.
Istrid.
That's her name.
Gotcha.
Istrid.
Why would you only have 3 months of reserves? Why wouldn't you attempt to have more than that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You're this incredibly rich kingdom, and you're telling me that you only have, like, if something horrific happens, you got 3 months?
Yeah.
You know?
Like they wouldn't understand how long sieges last and if they had a siege upon them. Yeah, it's quite comical.
Oh, look, they do actually sew up his wound. I must have missed that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they did sew it up, but it's like after that he's all healed up. He has no limp or anything like that.
Well, and it's also like 24 hours after he got stabbed too, because they go through the whole funeral before they show him getting sewn up. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because where he got stabbed, that thing would be bleeding.
Like, dude, any kind of open
like
stab wound.
That's the emergent situation.
Yeah, but in your thigh like that, bro.
Yeah, anywhere, but there as well would be an emergent situation.
We can skip over.
But it's like, nah, just put this tourniquet on. You'll be fine until after the funeral service, bro.
Theo and Isildur clearly are having some sort of connection, but Theo gets captured towards the end of the episode. And
Isildur and Istrid sit around crying about their mommies.
And she has the mark on her back for she's got the mark. They showed the mark on her back that she's one of Adar's people.
Yep.
All of this stuff again happened really fast.
So much crying and whining in this show so far in season 2. Everybody. And it's just like, I just don't care.
And then we end the episode.
With Karl Marx taking power.
Yeah, the two of them are kind of vying for power. It starts to go in her direction. But then
Which this is not at all how that works, by the way.
yeah.
But
It doesn't seem like even in politics it makes a lot of sense that would be.
and it's just randomly the people dislike her now.
Yeah.
It's like everything's happening too fast. There's no slow built up or anything.
And then for some reason, zero setup for this. This eagle lands, and everyone goes, Farazan, Farazan. And they're like, the eagle is chosen. Wait, did they even... I don't know if the subtitles will show it, but they're like, the eagle has chosen Farazan. And you're going like, huh? You're like, how does this work? Like, this is one of those other things where, they haven't set this up at all. Do the Numenorians worship the eagles? Do the Numenorians have like some sort of like reverence for an eagle landing there? Like, how?
Oh, that's right. They haven't set it up at all.
No, and it's like, how is there any sort of like?
I think Karl Marx made a passing comment about how an eagle, or maybe it was Tarmiriel it was in the conversation Tarmiriel had with Karl Marx in the scene prior where they're picking out her dress. And one of them makes the comment that an eagle hasn't visited a king of Numenor for a while. I think I could be mistaken, but I thought that was a conversation.
Maybe
but it was just a one-line deal. But that's still not a setup.
That's not a set. Yeah, you can't just put that in there and then be like, here's the eagle, and then be like, oh, the eagle chooses the proper king. You're like, huh? Wait, what?
If because you didn't realize it's a line that's easily passed away.
Exactly. It's not the same. Like you need to set up like secession and how is he able to an eagle landing and him being in the general area does not make him king.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know what you could do? You could easily do this. You could have a situation to where they want to do this thing and Tarmiriel's talking to Elendil or people that she trusts, and she's like, listen, people are starting to turn against me. We need to figure out a way to prove my right to the throne. Does anybody have any ideas? And it's like, hey, let's go to the let's go look at some history books or whatnot. Let's go do this, and let's read read about kings in the past and how they what am I trying to say? How they set their right to the throne. And it's like, oh, hey, when you climb Tarme, the eagles are there where you worship Eru Iluvatar, and you start by going there, and you set things up, and maybe they run into eagles, maybe they don't, but then they start worshiping Eru, and then you have this scene happen. Whatever. There's a few different ways you could probably set this up a lot better than this.
Yeah, for sure.
But just like Common People says, the show expects you to know lore, except when it tells you to ignore it. And at this point, as I said earlier, the Eagles weren't in Numenor any longer. They were far gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's pretty much the end of episode 3. That's where it ends. I mean, like they're like chanting or whatever, and they're setting up the drama, quote unquote.
Yeah, there was something that happened too that I forgot. I texted you while I was watching it, and I was like, they're setting Sauron up to I was like, Lord Farquaad Sauron. What was it? Dang, I wish
you sent me a lot of texts.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah, and then Sheaf 5288 in the troll room says it's their lore, written like an angst-ridden teen. Yeah.
Oh, I remember what it was now. It was in that opening scene, with Sauron talking to the orcs, trying to convince them to fight for him. And I was like, basically, it was some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make, Lord Farquaad.
Oh yeah, with the orcs. Yeah.
Yes,
Yep. Yep.
oh man,
Orcs will die, and they're all like, "Huh?"
that was so great. A lot of y'all are gonna die, your family, your friends, but it's for a good cause. I'm gonna be safe. It's for me. It benefits me. It doesn't benefit you guys. It just benefits me.
So,
Do you feel inspired?
but yeah, man. I mean, neither of us. Gosh. So.
Oh, I forgot to mention too. They show Damrod, who was the hill troll.
Oh, that's
Damrod,
right.
funny
We forgot
enough,
to talk about that.
is a character from the Athelian. I think it was one of the Rangers of the North. But in either case, what's funny about that hill troll is it's like they mentioned first off, why does he have beef with Sauron? Why did he come to help Adar?
Isn't
Because
he?
he's like, where's Sauron? What's your question?
Isn't he supposed to be like a Breaking Bad reference or something?
Yeah,
What?
he's supposed to be based off of his designs, based off of Mike Ehrmantraut.
Mm.
They didn't actually use the character, the actor's name. They used the character name that the actor plays.
Interesting.
So it's but instead of this being the Rings of Power, they should have just called it Better Call Sauron.
Well. Oh man.
But yeah, Damrod also has they mention dragon bones or teeth or something on them, and it's like, wait, how did this hill troll kill some dragons? Maybe a fire drake, or maybe one of the cold drakes that couldn't breathe fire, maybe. But it's like the hill troll killing a dragon.
Don't think, Joseph. Just consume.
Yeah, the actor's actual name, by the way, is Jonathan Banks, but instead of that, they said that the troll was designed off of Mike Ehrmantraut. I'm like, that's hilarious. So, Simon Tolkien, it was rumored that he was the one that said he wanted Sauron to be based off of Walter White.
Yeah. Just
if that's true, that's hilarious.
Joseph, just consume.
Like, what a bad idea.
Just consume product and wait for more product.
Yeah.
Aren't you ready for the next part of the product next Friday?
Oh, I'm dying. What are you talking about? You mean Thursday, dude?
Oh, is it Thursdays? Oh, okay.
No, I guess I'm assuming it is.
Well, because we had originally thought that it wasn't coming out till like midnight on Thursday, right? And then
yeah, but it was
out
I had
on
it backwards.
Thursday.
It's midnight, like Thursday at midnight. That makes sense. So
Thursday morning, like 12 a.m. on Thursday. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Az and Mahler and X-Ray Girl and Gary all argue about that too, because they're trying to figure out, because they're all in different time zones.
Oh, dude, I'm sure that's a nightmare.
Oh, it's pretty funny. Yeah, that's pretty much wraps up the what are we, a third of the way? No, we're more than that.
Oh man, it's 8 episodes?
Yeah, and we're 3 episodes in, so we're almost
about a
halfway
third.
there.
Yeah, close to a third, right? It's a little more technically.
Yeah,
since it's only 8. Yeah. Well, good. 5 more weeks, right?
Yeah, hey, at least they spared us that. Hey, good decision, Amazon, dropping all 3. You should have just dropped all of them.
Oh,
I love the fact that they dropped all of them so that they could get that watch time up and market that, and yet they were number 2.
Yeah, it didn't help. I don't think it helped them. I don't think it helped them. That shows so much of how few people are watching the show.
Yep, and you know what my theory is, right? The reason why they increased prices was because of season 1 bombing and how much money they spent.
Well, they're showing ads. They're showing ads on a bunch of their Prime stuff now.
Yeah,
and it's like, hang on a second, like, am I not already paying like a ton of money for all of this stuff, and now I have to like watch your ads on top of paying for this stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a class action lawsuit against them for
Good.
that.
Yeah, it needs to happen. Like that's where like you're either collecting ads or you're collecting money so that I don't have to watch your ads.
Yep.
That's the way that works. That's the give and take of that. If it's free, I'm getting my extra time spent, you know, because I'm watching ads, and if not, you know.
I'm actually thinking about canceling my Prime again. I had it canceled for a
Nice.
long time, and like months and months ago, I got it back just because of. I mean, you know where I live, but where I
Yeah.
live, it's convenient, but it's not really convenient because I don't get USPS
Oh, that sucks.
delivered to my house, so I have to have PO box. And so all my Amazon packages go to the PO box, and you know the U.S. Postal Service absolutely sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is, if I find something on Amazon, I've been using other companies just to ship directly to my house because UPS and FedEx will come directly to my house. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
like, what's the point? What's the point anymore?
Yeah.
And most of the things I'm never buying just one thing from Amazon, so I could not have Amazon Prime and still qualify for the free shipping. So
Well, dude.
that is it.
So we are not streaming Monday. Right? That's still not right. I mean, we've already gone through all of this, so
yeah, we're gonna stream next Monday.
yes. So from now on, the episodes will come out Thursday, whatever. We will talk about them the following Monday, when they after they release, so that we can kind of stay on a regular schedule. This was sort of just we had to get this in. You know, I didn't want. Man, there was no way I was waiting another week on top of that to talk about 4 episodes.
Yes,
that would have been
because
crazy.
I'm going on vacation.
So, yeah, guys. Joseph, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
My thoughts and prayers are with everybody watching the show. Please pray for us because it is definitely a chore to get through.
Well, and y'all have a great Labor Day if you celebrate Labor Day. If not, enjoy the rest of your weekend or whenever you're listening to this. Like always, y'all take it easy.
See ya.